All right, I'm going to give everyone just a quick warning. I'm just tidying up the last couple things, and then we will get started in just a moment, please. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, city staff, commissioners, thank you for joining us tonight. The time is 6:34, and we are going to go ahead and call to order our planning and zoning meeting. Okay, really quick before we jump into roll call. Miss Beaver did resign last meeting, which was for seat 7, and so Miss Yvette Hubbard was appointed at last Tuesday's meeting, so she's moved from alternate to a regular seat. We have a new seat 1 position, Mr. Anthony Sharp, and that has moved Miss Weimer to an alternate. So we did have some shuffling around. If there's any questions, we can talk to our council or staff because they kind of make those decisions for us. Okay, and from here we will also, since we have a new commissioner, we're going to do things a little bit. If I'm explaining something, it's just because I want to make sure that you're on the same page that we are, and we'll get this going. So we generally start from right to left when we vote. We generally do a one-time, one shot at speaking, so we don't sit here and go back and forth 16 times. So I asked that our commissioners, we always have our homework done prior to the meeting. We have our notes, we have concise conversation, and we know what we're here to talk about. That helps us to start with a person, ask your questions, get it out, move down the line, and then we move on to the next agenda item. So with that, we'll move to item number 2, which is our roll call and excused absences. So I will start at this end with Ms. Dodd.
Here. Here.
Ms. Grieve here.
Maria Fishback here.
Ryan Thompson here.
Ms. Hubbard here.
And then we'll go down to...
Anthony Sharp here.
And we do have both alternates here tonight, Mr. Hines and Ms. Weimer. Okay. Next, we'll move on to item agenda number 3. And we also kind of have taken turns to decide each month. A new commissioner will choose if they want the invocation or the moment of silence. This month is Ms. Hubbard. Would you like your invocation or moment of silence? Invocation. Okay, thank you.
May we come together with peaceful minds and healthy intentions to accomplish mutual goals for the betterment and well-being of all in our community. We offer this to the universe with peace. Adidafa.
Okay, thank you. And next we will go for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And since this is a meeting with a new commissioner, we have an agenda item of an oath of office. Miss Peggy?
Anthony, come on down. Okay, you can stand right here. I'm going to read you the oath, and you just repeat after me. So when I ask you your name, just state your name, okay? Okay. If you'd raise your right hand, repeat after me. I state your name.
Anthony Sharp.
You do solemnly swear
I
I do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties of Planning and Zoning Commissioner member.
that I will faithfully execute the duties of the Planning and Zoning Commissioner
For the city of Cibolo, Texas,
for the city of Cibolo, Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution,
the Constitution,
the laws of the United States,
the laws of the United States,
the state of Texas,
the state of Texas,
and the city of Cibolo, so help me God.
and the city of Cibolo, so help me God.
Congratulations, Anthony. If I can get your signature on a couple things.
Oath of office has to be done so that he can be an official voting member. All right, thank you. Welcome to the team. Citizens to be heard. I'm going to kind of go over that for the next few meetings, just so people at home know and the people in the audience. You do need to sign up to the Citizens to be heard. There's usually a form at the back. That is different than the public hearing. Sometimes we get some mix-up and people are actually here to speak on the public hearing, which is a specific item. Your Citizens to be heard is where you get to speak on anything in the city. So let's go ahead. And we have letters to be read, but did we actually have anybody sign up, Miss Peggy? No. Okay, so I still will read our lovely little phrase here. Item number 6. This is the only time during the meeting that a citizen can address the commission. It is the opportunity for visitors and guests to address the commission on any issue to include agenda items. All visitors wishing to speak must fill out the sign-in roster prior to the start of the meeting. The commission may not deliberate any non-agenda issue, nor may any action be taken on any non-agenda issue at this time. However, the commission may present any factual response to items brought up by citizens. Attorney General Opinion JC 0169. Limit of 3 minutes each. All remarks shall be addressed to the commission as a body. Remarks may also be addressed to any individual member of the commission so long as the remarks are about matters of local public concern and not disruptive to the meeting or threatening to the member or any attendee, including city staff. Any person violating this policy may be requested to leave the meeting, but no person may be requested to leave or forced to leave the meeting because of the viewpoint expressed. This meeting is live streamed. If anyone would like to make comments on any matter regarding the city of Cibolo or on an agenda item and have this item read at this meeting, please email citysecretary@cibolotx.gov or phone in at 210-566-6111 before 5 p.m. the date of the meeting. With that, I will turn it over to Ms. Peggy.
Thank you. The first one is from Kelsey Dean. I'm writing to express my full support for the rezoning of Dobie Boulevard from, I guess it's 0 Dobie Boulevard from SF2 to C2. This change would not only allow for the expansion of a great local business, but would also further strengthen the sense of community that Alex and, Tisha Hartman have worked so hard to build. Through their dedication, kindness, and commitment, the Hartmans have created a space where people feel valued, heard, and supported. Their impact goes beyond just fitness. Burn Boot Camp has become a place where friendships form, confidence grows, and no one feels alone in their journey. They have given back to this community in so many ways, and allowing them to expand will only enhance their ability to uplift and support even more people. This rezoning would pave the way for not only Burn Boot Camp to flourish, but also the other like-minded businesses to grow, further enriching Cibolo, supporting small businesses that invest in people, creative positive change, and is what makes a city thrive. I would appreciate your support to approve this rezoning request and help continue the incredible work the Hartmans have started. Thank you for your time and consideration, Kelsey Dean. The next one is from Jim Sturch, and I'm writing on behalf of Burn Boot Camp, Alan and Tisha Hartman. Uh, I apologize that I cannot attend the Planning and Zoning nor City Council meeting on 12 March or 25 March, but I would like to provide input on this subject that is awaiting your approval to authorize Burn Boot Camp to relocate from their current location on FM 3009 to the proposed site off Dobie Boulevard near Boardfield Road. I've been a member of Burn Boot Camp on FM 3009 for 8 months and attend Monday through Friday every week. Prior to that, I attended a fitness studio less than a quarter-mile away in Schertz for 8 years. Additionally, my wife and I were small business Great Clips hair salon franchise owners for over 23 years in Schertz, Universal City, and San Antonio. We clearly understand the importance of location, especially when it comes to consumer parking, safety, and local residents' interference. As a member of Burn Boot Camp, I will state that I have never seen a franchisee more dedicated, motivated, and encouraging to their customer base and staff. Burn Boot Camp is mostly in-facility franchise with some outside cardio running when the weather is nice. All noise music is completely enclosed inside the facility. The only external noise is the pounding heart of heavy breathing when engaged in external hard work stations. The greatest concern with their current location is the limited parking, impacted by the Christian Brothers automotive businesses in the adjacent parking lot, and a CDB smoke shop that also shares the parking lot and strip mall. With the heavy morning traffic on FM 3009 while existing or trying to enter the current Burn Boot Camp location, I personally witnessed 2 T-bone accidents. Additionally, while trying to conduct external aerobic running laps in the parking lot, there's an occasional conflict with parking traffic. Supporting Burn Boot Camp to move to their desired location, located off Dobie Lane, would offer an incredible improved environment for customers with no impact to area residents. It would give Burn Boot Camp the ability to create a safer, larger environment that would offer franchise expansion. It would offer more unimpeded parking for customers and would not add any inconvenience to local residents. On a similar note, it would offer local residents a nearby, healthy workout environment established by a family-friendly business plan. Please listen to the discussion on this proposal. Understand that there is so much for Cibolo to gain, including more local business customers, improved safety for local customers, improved business opportunities and potential, more business tax revenue, and all of this with no impact to local residents. Thank you. And the last one is from Rebecca Carney. I'm writing you today regarding the potential rezoning of the land at Dobie Boulevard, Cibolo, Texas, from residential to commercial that Burn Boot Camp is looking to purchase. This Friday is my 1-year anniversary since joining Burn Boot Camp. When I started there, I did not know what to expect. To be honest, I was a little overwhelmed. However, it did not take long for me to feel that it is where I belonged. In the past year, I've gained so much more than I expected from joining a gym. It's not your average gym. There is a wonderful community that's developed over the years. The Hartmans and the trainers put their heart and soul into this community. They offer support, not just on the gym floor during camp, but also outside of camp. This team understands that being physically fit is not the only component of being well-rounded. They have not only helped me with my physical goals, but also with my mindset and nutrition. I see them do this with all members, not just myself. I truly believe the potential location, if rezoned from residential to commercial, will greatly impact not just the Burn Boot Camp community, but also the town of Cibolo and surrounding areas. Where the gym is currently located, it is not easy to get in and out of the parking lot with the traffic at Highway 3009 and Highway 78. In the new location, it will provide a safer option for members to get in and out without causing traffic congestion on the main road. Since Burn Boot Camp has set camp times, you will only see the gym traffic before and after those hours, and not randomly all throughout the day. For the weekends, there are only Saturday morning classes. The rest of the weekend is for members and trainers to rest. Therefore, any residents that live around this area will not have to deal with heavy traffic during most of the weekends, which I'm surely they'd appreciate. Since moving to Cibolo in 2021, I have seen businesses come and go along with the same type of businesses, nail salons, coffee shops, etc., attempting to take over Cibolo. There are not too many gyms located in Cibolo. This new property would allow Burn Boot Camp the opportunity to open its doors to even more of our community. We live in a world where people want to be healthier, whether it's exercising more or learning to eat better. Since joining Burn Boot Camp a year ago, I've seen the number of people in attendance at each camp explode. They recently added a new camp time to allow people more opportunities of when they can attend a camp. With that being said, I strongly urge you to consider rezoning Dobie Boulevard from residential to commercial. I truly believe this will open the door for Burn Boot Camp to make an even greater impact on the community when it already has. Thank you for taking the time to listen to what I have to say. Sincerely, Rebecca Carney.
Thanks, Miss Peggy. Okay, and then again, no one on the sign-in sheet, so we will move along to our consent agenda item, which is number 7A, is approval of the minutes of the Planning and Zoning meeting that we held on February 12th of 2025. Commissioners, does anybody have anything to add for the minutes?
So the only thing that I found was item 8A. It said that Ms. Dodd was the dissenting on the motion. It was in fact Ms. Garcia.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, thank you for having a wonderful memory. Okay, so with that, do you have it down, Miss Peggy?
Yes, they can make the motion with the change.
Yes, okay. Do we have anyone that would like to make a motion with the change for item 7A?
I would like to go ahead and make the motion for the change on item 7A
I second.
Okay, we have, and to approve the minutes?
and to approve the minutes. I'm
And,
sorry.
you're good. And we have a motion and a,
A second to approve the minutes as well.
okay, and we're going to start down here with Miss Dodd and move around.
A. Aye. Yes.
Aye.
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 Perfect. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, and next we're going into our public hearing section. Commissioners, we have 3 public hearings, and we have quite a large agenda after that. So because we do have such a packed agenda, I am going to also instill our 3 minutes per person speaking from anyone in the audience. So let's go ahead and move to Ms. Lindsay. I'm sorry, item 8A, conduct a public hearing regarding a request for a change in zoning from low-density, single-family residential SF2 to neighborhood commercial C1 for certain real property located at 248 West Borgfield Road, legally described as ABS 216 Sir A.S. Lewis, 4.0500 acres. Now, Ms. Lindsay.
Good evening. This is for 248 West Borgfeld Road. It is approximately 4.05 acres. It is owned and represented by Daniel and Dana Cosner. It is located south of the Grand at Cibolo in Council Place 2. It's currently zoned low-density single-family residential, or SF2, and the future land use map calls this parcel out as neighborhood commercial. The proposed use is commercial. So the property owners at 248 West Borgfield Road are requesting a zone change from SF2 to neighborhood commercial C1 to increase marketability and to attract more prospective buyers when listing the property for sale. The subject property is currently within the SF2 zoning district. To the west on the adjacent parcel is also a property zoned C1. North of the property across West Borgfield Road are several parcels also zoned neighborhood commercial. To the east of the properties is the Schneider Business Park, which is within the light industrial zoning district, or I1. And south of the property is the Dobie Heights subdivision, which are residential lots zoned SF6 or high-density single-family residential. So notice was published within the local newspaper on February 23rd, as well as the city website. Individual letters were sent by mail to 11 property owners within 200 feet of the subject property, and to date, staff has received 4 responses in favor and 1 in opposition. And public hearings are scheduled for this evening, March 12th, as well as March 25th at City Council, and a final decision is scheduled to be tentatively made on April 8th at the City Council meeting. If you have any questions, staff is here to assist.
Okay, thank you. I do have one, Miss Lindsay. I know I bounced between my electronic and my paper copy, but the 4 in favor and the 1 in opposition for the letters, the notice back, I didn't find all of those. Do you have
So,
them?
It should be in your packet. One of them included, it was from the property owner of the 4 properties across West Borgfeld. I can scroll.
Yeah, if there's a way. I found some at the end of this. But it's always nice, I think, when we can see those letters, because sometimes they have certain notes in there that we don't understand. The water runs off onto my property when it rains normally, and, just things that sometimes we're not fully aware of. Sometimes they don't, they just have the checkbox, but, sometimes they have the notes. So at the very end, I saw a couple, but
Yes, so there were 2 letters. One of them is specifically listed 4 different properties on it, and that was the one from the owner of the 4 properties across the street from Borgfeld.
okay, say that one more time. One letter. So the 4 in favor, are you saying came from the same? Yes, see? We'll come back to that. That's fine. I don't know. Commissioners, did you see the letters opposed? And
it may be because 1 is for 4, is that what you're saying?
so maybe I'm looking for 4 in a row and my eyes only saw 1.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, because even in the electronic packet, it just goes right to the next.
And it says 2 tracks across Borgfeld, and then he did label them on his map, so A, B, C, and D.
Oh, okay. We
Okay,
haven't seen
so
it done like
was
that.
1 for 4.
That's it.
Okay, so he's saying he's claiming those 4 properties on that map. Okay, so it's up on the, gotcha. A, B, C, and D is 1. Okay, so that's the 4, and then the 1 opposed. Okay. That makes sense now. Okay. Okay, that was the only question I had for staff. Any other commissioners? Questions for staff? No? Okay, then we will open the public hearing, and the time is 6:56. So if there's anyone here in the audience to speak, this is where you did not have to sign up. You're just welcome to come to the mic and speak your name so Miss Peggy can hear you. No one here for this? Okay, we will close the meeting at 6:56. Next item is to conduct a public, 8B, to conduct a public hearing regarding a request for a change in zoning from low-density single-family residential, SF2, to community retail service, C2, for certain real property located south of the intersection of West Borgfeld Road and Dobie Boulevard, legally described as Cibolo Kingdom Hall, Lot 2, acres, 5.2050.
Good evening, Commissioners. Before I begin, I just want to recognize we do have a new planner on staff, Olivia Hall. So she's here helping us out, and we're happy to have her on board. So going into this staff report, the owners are Sam D Management LLC. Representatives are Alex and Tisha Hartman. This is located on Dobie Boulevard, approximately 5.205 acres. This is south of the intersection of Borgfeld Road and Dobie Boulevard. This is in Council Place 2. The future land use is estate residential. Its existing zoning is low-density, single-family residential, SF2. The requested zoning is for community retail service C2, and the proposed use is for a gym and multi-tenant commercial. So the applicants are requesting a zone change from SF2 to C2 for a 5.205 acre parcel located south of the intersection of Borgfeld Road and Dobie Boulevard. The applicants intend to develop a 12,000 to 15,000 square foot building with approximately 8,000 square feet planned for a gym, and the remaining space allocated for multi-tenant offices and businesses. This type of use is classified within the UDC as fitness studio and / health stall, as well as the administrative and business offices under section 1.12 of the UDC. The subject property is currently zoned SF2 and is currently surrounded by similarly zoned properties to the north and west. To the south lies Dobie Heights subdivision with residential lots zoned SF6. West of the property is across Dobie Boulevard are residential properties zoned C1 and SF2. Further west is Cibolo's Industrial District, the Snyder Industrial Park, which is within the I-1 zoning district. Notice was published within the Seguin Gazette on February 23rd, and the city's website. Individual letters were sent by mail to 18 property owners within 200 feet of the subject property. To date, staff has received an update from what we have here, being 2 in favor and 2 in opposition. Public hearings were scheduled on today for the P&D and March 25th for City Council, and the ordinance is tentatively scheduled for April 8th City Council. If you have any questions, staff is available.
It's just the same on the letters. I was able to find, I guess, the 2, was it 2 in favor or 2 opposed? I found the 2 opposed. Do you have one that must have come in? Okay, and that one just came in now. Are there any good notes on there that say anything? No, just a checkbox, okay. Okay, 2 in favor, 2 opposed. Okay, commissioners, do you have any questions on this item before we open the public hearing?
The 2 that are opposed, are they part of that neighborhood that's right there? Do we know?
Like, do they live within the 200 feet? Did they return their address?
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I didn't look up the addresses, but
I didn't either.
I guess
yeah.
that's my assumption.
Return these forms, so.
Yeah, okay.
I do have one question for Ms. Peggy. Ms. Peggy, I know we had talked about these forms and maybe somehow adding something, kind of highly requesting a comment. Do you know if we were going to do anything?
So yeah, those forms are generated by planning. I wasn't made aware of that request, but we can definitely make any changes or updates to those.
I think that was
notices.
with our previous,
It would just really help us because it says in favor and opposed, but especially with the opposed, we don't know why they're opposing it. So I don't know how we can highly suggest
Sure.
to fill in the comments.
Yeah,
But something that would give us a reason behind the opposition or even in favor of would help us.
yeah, it's kind of not clear. You just check the box and you move on. And if you have a comment, but it'd be nice to somehow not require it, but request politely. It helps for the feedback of the community to have something more than a checkbox.
Definitely.
But yeah, I
we
think it
can
was
definitely-
previous people. I think it's been I forgot about that. Good catch. Okay, with that, if there are no other questions or comments, I will open the public hearing, and the time is 7:01. Is there anybody here to speak tonight on item 8B? If you could just speak your name so Miss Peggy can record it. Thank you.
Yes, my name's Tisha Hartman. And it's my husband and I who are requesting for this property to be rezoned to commercial C2. And since we've seen you last, we walked that entire neighborhood and gave them a copy of our narrative, and we reached out to the residents who have the custom homes right next onto that property line. Everybody was in favor of when they were speaking to us. Some of them were even asking about our camp times. And so I'm a little shocked to hear that there's 2 opposed and 2 in favor. But you have a copy of our narrative. You know our heart. We love Cibolo. And we love what we're doing in our community. It's very special to us. Anything else?
Thank you for coming up. I know it's a little nerve-wracking sometimes to speak in front of everybody, so we appreciate that. Thank you. And just so you know, I know at the action discussion item, there might, like last time, there might be some questions, so if we have you. And then just a quick reminder, we are still just trying to keep our meeting moving, so 3 minutes. Yes, ma'am. Okay, if you could state your name for Miss Peggy, please.
Yes, my name is Leah Wyckoff. I am a member of Burn Boot Camp. I started back in March of last year, and as of today, I'm on my 250th consecutive day of working out,
Wow.
which was a really big deal for me. I'm an Air Force veteran. I got out back in 2015, but I completely stopped working out when I got out. So it took Burn Boot Camp to help me get back to that. I'm a mom of 3, and I greatly appreciate the child care that they provide during each of the camps. It's totally free. I have 3 kids, and I can just bring them and drop them off and not have to worry. The current facility that we're in doesn't provide enough space for the children and the child watch. And you guys have heard the many comments about the parking lot. Sometimes we go outside and do laps, and we have to be really careful about the traffic that's coming through the parking lot so no one gets run over. So for me, this community is super special, especially as somebody who had aspirations of getting fit but just did not have the desire to at all. Now Burn Boot Camp is a huge part of my day. It's changed the way that I eat. It's changed the way that I live. And I would just greatly appreciate some heavy consideration for the rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, do we have anyone else here tonight to speak? We do. And again, if you could just speak your name for Miss Peggy, and then always make sure the light is green for anyone that's coming up to the microphone. Light's got to be green.
Okay. My name is Sarah Dietz. I'm a member of Burn Boot Camp, and I'm also helping the Hartmans as their realtor. I have been a member of Burn Boot Camp since the very first day it opened in January of 2020. I'm almost 50 years old, and I have never, ever, ever worked out consistently more than now. And I feel, even though I'm 5 years older than when I started, I feel way stronger. When the Hartmans took over, it's just, they have such big hearts. Their name should really be Heart, or I guess it is, but it's spelled different. It's not a gym. It's a community. It's a family. If you're gone for a couple days, if you're out of town, I have to make sure I tell somebody because then they're going to be worried. Where am I at? If you need anything, if you need a hug, they sense if something's going wrong or you're just feeling off or whatnot. They're a really, really good family. They want to do good in this community. That's where their heart definitely is. They definitely plan on the other businesses they want in that area. They want to make sure they're like-minded businesses, also businesses, small businesses with good hearts, and something that's going to be good for the city of Cibolo, something with health, nutrition. We don't need another dental office. We don't need another nail salon. Nothing like that. Just something that's good for the community, that's going to lift the community up, and just show what a great place Cibolo is to live. So, that's it.
Thank you so much for coming up and speaking. Do we have anyone else this evening to speak? We do. I see a Burn Boot Camp shirt. Yes. If you could just speak your name for Miss Peggy.
Yes, Jessica Bird, BYRD. I'm just here to echo the many sentiments you've already heard about Burn Boot Camp. I've been with them for about 1.5 years, and just in that short of time, I've seen outrageous growth as a community there. And despite our membership just exploding the past year, everybody's still so close-knit, and you're always family to them. As they've said before, if I don't show up for a week, I'm getting texts, I'm getting calls if everything's okay. They celebrate your highs, they pull you through the lows. I've lost count of how many times I've been sobbing in their back office because I was ready to quit. But as a mom of 2, with their help and their nutrition guides and just their support, I've finally got my life back, and I hope to keep pushing forward and getting to 250 camps this year. That's a personal goal of mine. So you can't go wrong by pushing that health and community further into the city.
Great, thank you so much. Anyone else here to speak tonight on this item? No? Okay. Thank you all for coming up. The time is 7:08. I will close the public hearing. I got to put it in my notes real quick. 7:08. And next, we will move on to item 8C, which is to conduct a public hearing regarding a Unified Development Code, which you'll hear a lot just as the UDC. The Unified Development Code UDC Amendment to Article 20 to update the performance, maintenance, and warranty bond requirements.
Members of the Planning Commission, we are here tonight to start the process to amend the UDC to streamline our bond procedure when a developer is proposing a subdivision plat. There's a couple of bond-related procedures, one during construction and then one post-construction, which involves maintenance and warranty of the developer's private improvements. And as they go through the process of dedicating those private improvements to the city for ongoing maintenance, we have several procedures that they must go through. We're proposing to streamline that process, one, to benefit both the developers as well as the city staff. We're trying to align our process and our procedures to our staffing levels so we're able to perform our services at a high customer service level. And so we'll work through tonight with you some of those amendments. You don't have to take action tonight. You can postpone to your next meeting if you're not comfortable moving forward tonight, but you can conduct the public hearing. We're required to perform a public hearing per the local government code. Anytime you want to amend your UDC, we're required to post notice in a paper of general circulation, and then we're required to conduct a public hearing. Then you can work through the amendment or text amendment to your ordinance. Once you're done, you would forward that on to the city council for consideration and approval. They can approve or deny the amendment, or they can send it back to you for further work if they're not comfortable with that amendment. So tonight is just kind of kicking off the process.
Thank you, we appreciate that. For some reason, I did read that just as discussion, but it does actually have action listed on there. So I thought this was just our first draft and that we weren't actually voting tonight, but I see I misread that. So you're saying that our option would be to postpone it?
Your option is to vote on it tonight. Your option is to postpone it and continue to work on it till your next meeting. It really is up to the commission.
Okay, we'll talk
guide you
about
through
that when we get there then. Okay. Are there any other questions for commissioners for staff before we open up the public hearing? Nope. Okay. The time is 7:11, and I will open up the public hearing if there is anyone here in the audience to speak on behalf of item 8C. And it does not look like there is. So I will go ahead and close the meeting at public hearing at 7:11. Okay, and let's go back over here. Next is our item, we are into our discussion action items, which is on the agenda under the 9A. This is discussion and action regarding the final plat of Cibolo Farms Unit 3.
Hello, this is for the final plat for Cibolo Farms Unit 3. It is owned by Lennar Homes of Texas and Texas Land and Construction, represented by KCI Technologies. It is approximately 20.117 acres. It is located south of Green Valley Road within the ETJ. So the proposed use is 97 residential lots, 8 open space lots, and 3 drainage or open space lots. The utility providers are GVSUD for water and sewer, and electricity is provided by GVEC. So, the Cibolo Farms development is located within the extraterritorial jurisdiction, or ETJ. This final plat establishes Unit 3, which is approximately 20 acres in size, consisting of 97 residential lots, 8 open space lots, and 3 drainage or open space lots. An amended land study for this development was approved in 2021, and construction plans and the preliminary plat for this unit were approved in October of 2024. So this plat includes 3,912 linear feet of privately maintained roadway with 60 feet of right-of-way being dedicated on planned streets. A traffic impact analysis, or TIA, report was initially submitted to the city for review. This was one of the pending comments that has since been addressed by the applicant. The Cibolo Farms was incorporated in the Grace Valley Ranch TIA that was approved in 2022. So as far as utilities, as I mentioned before, Green Valley Special Utility District, or GVSUD, will serve water and sewer for the development, and then Green Valley Electric Co-op will provide the electric. As far as drainage, a plan was reviewed and approved by the city engineer's office, and the report indicates that drainage mitigation in Unit 3 will utilize a detention pond within Unit 1 of the subdivision. So as mentioned before, and I have included this in your staff reports, the city engineer has updated his recommendation to approval now that all comments have been addressed, and again, that included the TIA and confirming right-of-way dedication callouts, as well as a couple minor errors. So with that, staff is recommending approval of this plat. If you have any questions, staff is here to assist.
Okay, commissioners, do we have any questions or comments for staff before we kind of roll call, speak our mind, our discussion? Anything for city staff? No? Okay, so I will start on this end. Ms. Dodd, anything?
Nothing.
No? Ms. Garcia?
So when I was looking,
Yes, those have. It was an extra letter that was provided with your packet. Yeah, it was a huge packet, but we did include it. Yes.
Okay, Ms. Fishback?
No comments.
No comments.
No comment.
Okay, and I know we do have alternates, but sometimes they do all the homework. Well, they always do all the homework. So I would like to continue the circle. Do I have anything from Ms. Weimer or Mr. Hines?
I actually just have a procedural question, because we've talked about the shot clock. So now the shot clock says it'll start once the submission has completed all the documents. So now you consider them having completed all the documents?
The shot clock started once we accepted their application. So it's not once their application is approved by the city engineer. It's as soon as we receive their plat, all associated documents with the plat, and then their application as well as payment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, go ahead. Okay, and we will finish with Mr. Sharp.
No questions.
Okay. So I guess I don't have anything either. If the original comments were outstanding, those have all been met. Okay. And does anyone have a motion on the floor? So then I would. Mr. Vasquez, that page you emailed to us for the motions, do you remember that? Were we going to get printed copies of that?
We could,
Did everybody get emailed that, or did I just get emailed that?
everybody,
Everybody did get that?
yeah. And something like this just requires a simple motion to approve.
Correct, but it just reminded me of I haven't touched base to see if everybody got that motions page. What was the title of that page? Do you remember the title of the email or the page?
It might have been just operating procedures, if I recall, but I'll check my email.
Okay. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? There's an email that came through on standard motion language, standard motion procedure. And I always like my stuff printed because I need it in my book in front of me, and I can't get Wi-Fi here for the screen. So I just want to make sure that everyone else here has that. It kind of had the recommendations, but it didn't have actual motion language. That was a little bit more detailed to help us kind of piece it together, but okay. Okay, is there a way to get just a copy printed for everybody for next meeting, just to have it? Perfect, thank you. Mr. Thompson, I'm sorry.
Okay, I would like to make a motion on discussion action item 9A regarding the final plot of Cibolo Farm, Unit 3. Purpose land use of 97 residential lots, 8 open space lots, 3 drainage open space lots. Based upon staff recommendations.
Okay, so Mr. Thompson is making a motion to recommend approval to the city staff and the mayor, okay, regarding final plat of Cibolo Farms Unit 3. We good? Okay, perfect. We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second, and we're going to start roll call with Ms. Dodd.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passes. Next, we'll move on to item 9B, discussion action regarding the final plat of Grace Valley Ranch Unit 3 Street Extension. We have 2 Grace Valleys in here. So this is Grace Valley Ranch Unit 3 Street Extension.
Hello again. This is for Grace Valley 3 Street Extension. It is also owned by Lennar Homes of Texas Land and Construction. It is represented by Cood Engineers. The area is approximately 24.35 acres. It's near the intersection of Wild Road and Lazy Acres Lane. It is also located within the ETJ. This proposed subdivision is 11, make sure I'm looking at the correct Grace Valley real quick. So this plat is establishing there's two Grace Valley 3s. Okay.
You're okay.
Never mind. Okay, this plat is actually 1.09 acres. Everything else still applies. This is proposing 776 linear feet of roadway. It is the extension of Wyatt Way to the northwestern limits of the overall Grace Valley subdivision, and the preliminary plat for this subdivision was approved on February 27th of 2024. So all utilities will be provided by, or water and sewer will be provided by GV Sud, while electric is provided by GVEC. The drainage plan that was reviewed with this project has been approved and complies with the master drainage study. Parkland has been met. However, there are some pending comments on this plat. The applicant has resubmitted. However, that was submitted on Friday. It is still under review by city staff. Our standard turnaround time is about 5 business days. So outstanding comments included confirming the total acreage of this plat and correcting some minor errors such as formatting and freezing improvements shown on the plat. So due to the pending comments, staff is recommending denial at this time. If they do correct all the errors on the plat, we will change our recommendation to approval when we present it to council. So if you have any questions, staff, we're here to help.
Thank you. Anyone, Commissioner, questions for city staff?
So right now, staff is recommending
Denial.
Yes, no comments have been cleared up like the previous agenda item, so it's still the same. Yeah, everything's still kind of pending. And it sounds like it was just some kind of technical, you said the feet, there's just a few things that were different. Okay.
It was very minor comments on the plat itself.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. We'll start on this end. Ms. Dodd, anything for discussion?
no discussion.
Ms. Garcia?
No.
No comments.
No. No comments.
No comment.
Okay. Down on the floor.
I'm getting an education. So I have a note here. It says freezing improvements shown on plat. What is freezing improvements?
I'm sorry, what word? What did you say?
Freezing improvements.
Freezing improvements?
I just want to know what it means.
Yeah, it's just like a as far as the actual application, it's just making sure that nothing can be moved on the plat, so between our reviews.
Okay. Anything else?
None for me.
Okay.
No questions.
Okay. Do we have a motion on the floor then? Anyone would like to make a recommendation on approval or denial?
I move to make a motion and recommend denial to the city council and staff on item 9B regarding the final plat of Grace Valley Street Unit 3, street extension, based on staff's comments that comments are pending.
That there are outstanding comments pending. Yes, perfect. Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Mr. Thompson, was that you as a second? Oh,
Second.
that was Ms. Hubbard. Ms. Hubbard, okay. And we will go ahead and vote, yay or nay, starting with Ms. Dodd.
Yay.
Yay.
I guess it's aye. Is it aye? I said yay. Aye. Aye. I'm sorry. Those were aye, aye, aye.
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 And
Aye.
thank you. Motion passes. Where did I get yay or nay? I don't know. Sorry. Co-chair, you're supposed to step in there and be like, Jennifer, what are you doing? Okay. Let's see. Next, we have item 9C, discussion action regarding the final plat of Grace Valley Ranch Unit 3A. I will go ahead and pass it over to Ms. Lindsay.
Yes, so this is the final plat for Grace Valley Unit 3A, also owned by Lennar Homes of Texas, represented by Cood Engineers. This one is actually 24.35 acres, and again, located at the intersection of Wild Road and Lazy Acres Lane. It is located within the ETJ. The proposed use includes 111 residential lots with 2 open space lots. Water and sewer will be provided by GVSUD, and electricity will be provided by GVEC. So this final plat establishes Grace Valley Ranch Unit 3A, establishing 111 residential lots that are typically 40 feet in width. This plat also establishes 2 open space drainage lots designated as lots 901 and 902 on the plat. The preliminary plat was approved in September 2022. A land study or master plan was approved for the Grace Valley Ranch subdivision in April 2019, which allowed for a maximum of 222 lots within both phases of Unit 3. So this plat includes approximately 3,257 linear feet of private roadway to serve the development. Once again, utilities are provided by GVSUD and GVEC. Drainage was reviewed and found to comply with the master drainage plan approved in August 2022. As far as parkland, a letter was provided by the applicant stating that the provided parkland dedication for this unit exceeds the required total acreage by 8%. However, this letter did not specify how or where this requirement has been met. We did also receive a resubmittal for this plat on Friday, March 7th. They provided an updated letter stating that 2.5 acres have been dedicated for Unit 3A. However, it's still unclear as to where this has been dedicated within the entire subdivision. And as mentioned before, the open space lots are designated for drainage. So, due to the pending comments, including this, the parkland dedication as well as confirming acreage and comments are still outstanding. So staff is recommending denial of this final plat at this time.
Yes, gotcha. Okay. So some of the information came in, but it's still technically incomplete. Okay. Okay. Does anybody have questions for staff? No. Okay. Starting down here with Ms. Dodd, anything for discussion?
No discussion.
None for me.
No comments.
No comments.
No comments.
Anyone done? No? Okay. No? And
No questions.
okay, we're moving quicker than I thought tonight. My goodness. Okay. Okay. Does anyone have a motion they'd like to take to the floor?
I make a motion to deny the final plat of Grace Valley Ranch, Unit 3, based on staff recommendations.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Starting down here with Ms. Dodd.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Next, we will move to item 9D. That is our discussion action regarding preliminary plat of Grace Valley Ranch Unit 4A.
So I included in your packets, the applicant has requested to postpone this plat until next month, once they have addressed all comments for this plat. I can still go over the report if you'd like, but they have requested to postpone it.
No, was that request just today?
Yes.
Oh, okay, gotcha. No, can you give me 1 second though, just to read it really quick? Okay, I'm good on that. So now I think we can wait till next month
Great.
if we're postponing that one. Unless the commissioners have anything else. Postpone.
Not for me.
Okay. We will go ahead and move on to item 9F. Discussion and action regarding a request for a change in zoning from low-density, single-family.
90.
Oh, I did skip. I put a check mark on the wrong box here. 9E, thank you. Discussion and action regarding a proposed land study of the Neal Tract subdivision. So that was our massive homework that we had, was the Neal Tract subdivision. So go ahead.
Yeah, that's correct. So if you all recall, you all have previously had before you a land study for the Neal Tract. They were proposing at that time something different. Residential lots, I believe approximately 337 lots for single-family lots. Now they are proposing multifamily units. So this is located on Schmeckel Road. The representatives are Jason Townsley with KB Homes and Nicholas Gower with LJA Engineering, approximately 67.58 acres. This is in the ETJ. So they are proposing 337 multifamily residential units in 4 phases. This land study is for the proposed Neal subdivision west of the intersection of Schmeckel Road and Santa Clara Road in the city of Cibolo's ETJ. The land study is proposing a 4-phase development consisting of 67.589 acres and 337 multifamily residential units featuring townhomes and condominiums. The land study submittal proposes the subdivision will be served by GVEC for electricity and GVSUD for water and sewer. The applicant provided letters of certifications as required in section 20.3.2.A of the UDC. The Neal subdivision is designated as neighborhood commercial on the city's recently adopted future land use map. The character and intent of the neighborhood commercial place type includes small freestanding buildings containing 1 or more businesses. Business types may include restaurants, local retail, medical offices, banks, and other retail and service uses. Primary land uses in a state residential consist of neighborhood retail office. Therefore, the proposed Neal subdivision, which is proposing multifamily residential, does not align with the neighborhood commercial place type. The Neal subdivision, again, is located off of Schmeckel Road, which has an existing 50-foot right-of-way. Schmeckel Road is classified as a collector on the city's master transportation plan. The right-of-way requirement for collectors is currently 80 feet. The land study is proposing 20-foot right-of-way dedication along the property's frontage on Schmeckel Road. And we do have some of the criteria that's within the UDC to help you all with your findings. We have staff findings. I do just want to point out what one of those criteria for approval, which is the second which is the proposed provision and configuration of roads, water, wastewater, drainage, and park facilities will be adequate to serve each phase of the subdivision. The engineering design report, which is that massive report that you all have in your packets, it includes the GVSUD feasibility studies for water and wastewater services. However, these studies are based off of 351 residential EDUs for single-family detached housing rather than the multifamily use. So it's still the same packet that you all had received previously. It's not addressing what the proposed use for this submittal, which is multifamily. The other issue is that as required in section 16.2.2 of the UDC, they're required to have minimum parkland dedication of 8% of the total tract. Considering that the total tract is 67.589 acres, the developer is required to dedicate at least 5.40 acres for parkland. Although the engineering design report states that the total parkland dedication will be greater than 5.4 acres, the land study does not depict that on the actual land study. So without this information on the land study, the minimum acreage of parkland dedication cannot be confirmed as being satisfied. And so our recommendation, staff and the city engineer, we did review the land study and its associated documents so that you all can have it better than what we did. As outlined in the attached review memo, there are outstanding comments on the land study and engineering design report that must be addressed. Therefore, staff recommends denial of the land study as it does not conform with the subdivision regulations in the city's UDC due to the absence of information on easements, a lack of detail for proposed parkland dedication, and discrepancies within the engineering design report, which references single-family residential instead of multifamily units as proposed in the land study. If you have any questions, staff is available.
Gotcha, thank you. This was a big one. So, and we don't see a lot of land studies, I feel like. In my years here so far, I guess there's already some kind of pre-developed land, so because this is, I'm gonna say agricultural, I know it's in the ETJ, so it's not listed as ag, but to me it's ag, it's a big farm field, 60 acres of farm. So they just want to completely put it into multifamily, but we don't have the official documentation stating it's multifamily on their side, because originally they had single family, and then they're also showing some contradicting comments of multifamily. Is that what I'm getting? Because that was kind of hard for me to understand right there, like which is it?
Yeah, and that was the same for us because initially whenever you all had seen this months ago, they were proposing residential at the time. It seems like they used the same packet of information but did not update everything according to reflect the multifamily. So their analysis are geared more towards single family rather than the multifamily at this point. So that was a comment by staff, and that was also a comment that was made by the city engineer. So until they make those adjustments, we just can't verify that the information is accurate.
Okay, that was very helpful, that last sentence you said, because, yeah, when I'm looking at like I picked that packet apart and put all the stuff I wanted together and moved the other stuff aside. There was the map with the Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, Unit 4, but there's just a lot of mislabeling and a lot of, I'm like, how is that one Unit 1 if that's Unit 1? And how is that Unit 2? And does it normally tell us on this proposed land use plan, like, how would I know? I'm just going to rip this out really quick. On this page here, how would I know if it's a townhouse or a duplex or a single family? Because sometimes even though the wall is touching, I've learned from real estate, it is technically considered single family. So it's duplexes now, they have all sorts of fun ways and, of defining new terms. So does this give us any idea that it's actual multifamily, or is this just an old?
So I think for what they show on that page, that would be a little more in line with the multifamily that they're
Multifamily.
proposing, only because you're kind of seeing a different configuration. The issue at point, kind of like what was in your report, is the fact that on other pages within this engineering report, you'll still see the small multifamily or small single-family lots that are different from what you're seeing here. So I would say that this is kind of more in line with multifamily, but again, this is one of many pages that aren't consistent with what is already also shown within the report.
Okay. My only other question before I open the floor for other discussion is I would like more, here we go with that fun word, training. I would like more information on land study because it was such a giant packet. What is the most pertinent part for us to pull out and really zero in on? Because I probably, you don't want to know how much time I spent on that. Like trying to read and understand and educate. And I'm not a paid planner. Well, yes, but we have this massive packet. So even though you have and I think this is the one that had the pre-meeting. Is this the one that had the pre-meeting list too? Yeah, okay. So there was just kind of a lot. So just how do we narrow in on a land study?
I would say
Or is there something on APA already, somewhere?
no, because I feel like land studies are especially in Cibolo, are unique, especially from the other cities that we've previously worked for. I would say land studies in Cibolo are their own. What I would offer as a suggestion, we have our staff report. What I can do going forward, we can link, or not link, but we can reference pages within the engineering report so that it's easier for you all to hone in on those pages. Let's say if it's in regards to drainage or parkland dedication, we can parenthesize each of those different pages so that you all can see what we're referencing within the staff report.
It's a little bit extra work, and I apologize, but if the commissioners are open to that idea, or maybe it was just me that felt overwhelmed with the land study. If it
No,
wasn't
that would
just over me,
That would help a lot.
okay. And you saying that each land study is completely unique, so there isn't a generalization that we look for like a plat map or something. It's very,
Yeah, I would say the overall process and procedure is the same in terms of what's required, but yes, each land study is its own.
gotcha. Okay.
Right.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. I will open the floor for discussion over here. Ms. Dodd?
No comment.
No comment.
No comments.
I have one comment, and it gets to the crux of, we've talked about this. So when these, who is it, KB Homes or these guys, developers, and they're submitting these documents to us, which you guys, staff, and y'all reviewing them, and it's like kickback. Can y'all just kick that back until we don't have to see it, or do we have to see it? If it's already incomplete, if it's already not in compliance, why are we seeing it here? That's my question.
Yeah, I think these, especially the larger developers, they kind of roll the dice. And so I think they take the gamble. I think what we've seen previously, specific with the Neal subdivision, if you recall, they were also requiring the waiver to the alley requirement whenever they were requesting for the single family. They did not proceed to go to city council after you all had recommended denial. I would not be surprised if the same occurs here.
Okay.
Yes.
And my follow-on, Madam Chair, shot clock. So does the shot clock go in regard to this in them?
Not for land
It
studies.
stops it. It stops
That's
it for
why they
land.
pull it.
Okay.
It's just,
I
yeah,
wanted to make sure.
the shot clock is only applicable for plats.
Plots.
Yeah.
But they haven't even submit the plot. So if
Correct.
they're already performing in this way, why do we continue to do business like this? And this is for, as a city, you know? If these developers, they've already built here, KB Homes has built in Cibolo, right?
Definitely. I mean, I recognize their logo, so
Off
they're.
of, off of
1103.
1103.
They built
yes,
on
they have,
1103.
off of
They know
1103.
how Cibolo, my thing is, they know how we do business. This haven't changed on doing business today on the 25th of this year, 2025. So either submit the paperwork right, or we don't do business with you. How hard is that for us to do? And I know that you got legislators from upstate pushing to get developers to build, but I mean, just at a loss for words on that part. That's what I feel.
Maybe something we're able to address with the UDC rewrite. We can put criteria for an application, and so we'll be able to keep the, which these should be used only for master planning, phase development. They shouldn't be used for a tool like this. So we'll clean that up in the UDC.
Gotcha. Thanks, Mr. Thompson. Thank you. Ms. Hubbard? Nothing? Down on the floor? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Then I will continue on to.
No questions.
Okay. Since the chairperson speaks last generally, and it's also not recommended that the chair puts all the motions or the recommendations on the floor, that's why usually I look to you guys to kind of do that, because otherwise it's just like I'm overbearing and taking over the whole meeting if I'm running it and then making all the motions and the da-da-da, just so you know. But this one, yeah, there was a lot kind of going on with that. So I don't mind making the recommendation for denial because I would like to add in the 6 comments on why to make sure when it goes to council, if they don't pull it, that council sees kind of these tick points, if that's okay with y'all.
That's okay with me.
Okay, so I would like to make a recommendation to council and the mayor to deny item 9E, which is the proposed land study of the Neal Tract subdivision. And then bear with me because I got to flip back over here to all my notes. And thank you for telling me it was Schmeckel. I didn't know how to say that word. Based on, and are you ready, Miss Peggy? Because I assume that's okay. Based on the analysis is geared towards single family and not multifamily. That the easements are contradictory, sounds like. That it does not reflect our UDC. That the engineering design report is not complete. That the land study does not depict or confirm parkland dedication. So I just want to make sure that we have quite a few points on there for council and the mayor when they know why we officially denied. Okay, and so I made the motion. Can I get a second?
I second.
It's a tie. Rock, paper, scissors. Ms. Garcia. Okay, I have a motion and a second. We will start on this end with Ms. Dodd.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Motion carries.
I just have one quick question. So if it does proceed and city council asks why we denied it, that's going to be the reasons, right? Okay, check.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that one was a lot of work, so I want to make sure we understand that. It wasn't just because of outstanding comments, there's a lot going on with that. And for the health, safety, welfare of taking farmland dedication in the ETJ, because I know the ETJ has different criteria, I want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence and erring on the side of caution with that. So, okay, item 9F, right? Am I good? Okay. Discussion and action regarding a request for a change in zoning from low-density, single-family residential SF2 to neighborhood commercial C1 for certain real property located at 248 West Borgfield Road, legally described as ABS 216 Sir A.S. Lewis, 4.0500 acres. And also, I know we don't have tech here technically, but when she's going through that, is there a way to keep it up on the big screen and behind us to kind of follow along with what she's saying? Because right now it just shows the agenda, and I think it's nice to have up the actual pages and the maps sometimes. Yeah, is that good? Thank you.
First official job.
Okay. Well, while she's pulling up the staff report, I'll just give you a brief refresher. This is located on 248 West Borgfeld Road. It's 4.05 acres, located south of the Grand at Cibolo in Council Place 2. It is designated on the future land use map as a neighborhood commercial. It is currently zoned SF2 or low-density single-family residential, and the requested zoning is neighborhood commercial or C1. Once again, the applicant is requesting the rezone from SF2 to C1 to increase marketability and to attract more prospective buyers when listing the property for sale. As mentioned before, to the west of the property is a property zoned C1. North of the property are more properties also zoned C1. East is the Schneider Business Park Zone I1 or light industrial, and then south is the Dobie Heights subdivision zoned high-density single-family residential or SF6. This was posted in the Seguin Gazette on February 23rd, 2025. To date, staff has received 4 responses in favor out of the 11 letters sent to 11 property owners within 200 feet. We have only received 1 in opposition. As far as the analysis, we refer to section 4.3.1.5 of the UDC for approval criteria. The first being that the application is complete, which it is before you, so it does meet the submittal requirements, and that criteria is satisfied. The next is zoning map amendment is consistent with the city's adopted comprehensive master plan. So as you recall, the comprehensive master plan was approved on September 10th of 2024 under Ordinance 1465. The flume is the community's visual guide for development decisions that include logical and orderly placement of place types within the city and ETJ. It does not constitute zoning regulations or establish zoning district boundaries. So as mentioned, the property is designated as neighborhood commercial on the flume. This is the place type. And according to the comprehensive plan, it primarily provides family-oriented services for the surrounding neighborhoods and city, and they're generally located within walking distance of surrounding residential uses and neighborhoods. And business types include restaurants, local retail, medical offices, banks, and other retail and service uses. The primary land use for neighborhood commercial of the neighborhood commercial place type consists of neighborhood retail, office, and secondary uses are civil and institutional with parks and open space. Per section 14.2.0.11 of the UDC, the intent of the neighborhood commercial C1 zoning district is to provide for a limited variety of commercial uses and services associated with the neighborhood storefront, retail, service, financial, and office activities which are compatible and designed in scale with the surrounding residential area. The intent of the district is also to provide convenient neighborhood access to commercial services and minimize undesirable impacts such as noise, traffic, odors, and through performance standards. So based on all this information, the proposed neighborhood commercial or C1 zoning district aligns with the neighborhood commercial place type in the flume and comprehensive plan. So next is that the amendment promotes the health, safety, and general welfare of the city and the safe and orderly development of the city. Staff finds that the rezoning of the property from SF2 to C1 aligns with the city's commitment to promoting the public health, safety, and general welfare. West Borgfeld Road is a minor arterial street and that is designed to accommodate higher traffic volumes, which makes it suitable for commercial development. Additionally, this is consistent with the comprehensive master plan, and given that the flume serves as the community's visual guide for development decisions, this rezoning request supports the safe and orderly growth of the city. So the next criteria for approval is that the zoning map amendment is compatible with the present zoning and conforming uses of nearby property and the character of the neighborhood. So the applicant property is surrounded by C1 zoning district to the west and north, across Borgfeld, and then industrial to the east. The high-density single-family zoning is to the south, and so any commercial use within the C1 zoning district would be required to maintain compatibility with these adjacent areas and adhere to minimum lot design standards also outlined in Article 14 of the UDC. And lastly, the property rezoned is suitable for uses permitted by the district that would be applied by the proposed amendment. So the Section 13.2 of the UDC provides a full list of allowed uses within the C1 zoning district, as well as those that would require a conditional use permit. And the uses within the proposed C1 zoning district appear to be suitable for the property given its size, which is 4.05 acres, and the proximity to other commercial uses along Borgfeld Road. If you have any questions, staff is here to assist.
I don't have any questions yet, but yeah, the uses table and the map is always helpful just for viewers and audience purposes to kind of have up there. Commissioners, any questions for staff? Do we have any of the applicants for this one here? We do. Okay. Do you have, are you Mr. Cosner? Do you have anything you would like to? I noticed you did not speak at the public hearing. I don't know if you come to many meetings, so it's kind of sometimes hard to know where you're, able to interject. Do you have anything to add to this item? Because when we go from zoning from SF, which is single family residential, to commercial, it's sometimes nice to hear from that applicant, because when you open up the uses table, you're giving it a whole new feel. So I'm just curious, do you have anything for us on this plan?
Just wait 1 second. You gotta come up to the mic to be heard.
Oh, yes, if you could come up, I'm sorry, I should have said that. If you can come up here and, I guess I was waiting for you to say you had stuff or you didn't want to present anything, my bad. Oh, gotcha.
My name is Dan Costner. I reside at 248 West Borgfeld Road with my wife Dana, who was here earlier, and she dipped out because we had to go over and get some groceries. So she's taking care of that at the moment. The property we bought there originally was very nice and everything, as far as it was kind of like a little bit of a rustic area still in Cibolo. And unfortunately, with health reasons and things like that, the property has kind of gotten away from me, and I'm not able to keep it up like I was able to at one point. And everything around us is in closing. We're pinched right now. I mean, pinched. So we would love to be staying there, but unfortunately, with the surrounding changes, we just want to look at opening it up. And we look at the future land use map, and I think it's conducive to what the city wants to do in that area. And we would like to go ahead and help speed that along and expedite that possibly.
Gotcha, okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Cosner? Am I saying that right? Cosner, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no T, not like
Not
the
Costner.
actor, 'cause I don't have the money.
Well, I don't know if
have
it's
the looks.
Cosner or Cosner, but Cosner, all right. Okay. Anything for Mr. Cosner? No, okay. Do you mind staying close by in case we have anything else for you? Okay, thank you. Commissioners, I will open up the floor for discussion, starting with Ms. Dodd.
No comment.
No comments.
No comment.
I know we're looking at the flume, and I get it. There were a couple of us that were part of master plan for putting that together and creating the flume that now exists for this. But we do have two different applicants here that want to change areas into C1, C2, a C zone. My concern, I guess, a little bit is looking at the neighborhood that's kind of getting blocked in by what will now be a lot of C zoning around it. And I don't know really what that future looks like for that neighborhood and resale value, things of that nature, safety, so on and so forth, because once we do start moving things into a C zoning, as our chair has mentioned, it opens up a lot of avenues and things that can take place within those areas. And while right now, today, those applicants have intentions for those areas, if and when they do move or go somewhere different and someone else takes over that area that is still zoned commercial, they can do whatever they want with it. So my concern is just really that that area bumps up right against the back of that neighborhood. We'll talk about the second area later, but that does the same. So that's just my concern is, I know that when people move into neighborhoods, they're not totally thinking, well, what is the zoning around my neighborhood and what does that entail for the future? And that's where we come in as a commission to sort of look out for the community and do what's best while also trying to grow the community carefully. So that's just my sort of blurb, my notes, my concerns with that.
Thank you, Ms. Hubbard. Ms. Hubbard, would you like him to address any of that?
Sure.
Okay, you can come up.
Again, Dan Costner, 248 West Borgfeld. I don't want to get into history and past things and things like that. I want to leave that alone because there was this issue with zoning this property within the city some time back, and we tried to progress forward. It was zoned commercial previously, okay? But due to the fact that when we moved in, we were told by members of the planning section at that time that if I wanted to do anything on my property, since it was zoned C1, I couldn't put in a pool as a single family one property. I would have to apply for a variance. Every time I wanted to do something, I'd have to get a variance, more, anything. So we wanted to go ahead and say we're living there as a residential property, then go ahead and put it back, to the C to the residential rating. So previously, since the mid '90s, those two properties there, and you're talking about pinching the Gobi people. If you look at that property on an overview and you look at it terrain, okay, so you see that drainage that runs down through there? Okay, there is probably about a half a lot size on that drainage next to that property that I can't even use, So there is a buffer zone built into that property. It wasn't intentional, just kind of the way it happened. So I think that that's there. So, it's either, I don't know, I understand your concerns, and I do. I mean, I really do. I just want to be able to work with you guys, and I'm sorry, when I say guys, I'm sorry, I know that's not PC nowadays. When I want to work with everybody here in the city and stuff like that, and definitely I want to move forward. I just leave it at that. But yeah, so like I said, there was some issues with zoning, and we actually had it moved back because of what was recommended to us at the time, because of the fact of wanting to do things like we had an idea of putting in a pool and things like that. We were going to have to do all the variances and the fees and things like that. So the easiest thing to do was to do it as a residential, and that was probably about 12 years ago. I haven't been to one of these meetings in a decade, so I'm a little rusty on everything that happened. So, but yes, and valid concerns, ma'am. I understand, but we're willing to do anything we can to work with y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Cosner.
Thank you.
Ryan. All right, this is your one freebie. Go ahead, Ryan. No, you're good. Go ahead.
So, Mr. Cosner, you mind coming back up?
Yes, sir.
So it seems to me you are, with impending growth, it's almost like you put your family at a hardship where you couldn't do the things that we said we're going to fight as a planning and zoning commission to make sure that our people are taken care of, right? And you can see as we're getting this right now, but 10 years later, you're pinched in, and the home, the family setup of what he wants, he can't have, So it's like, give him the C1. I would say to approve the C1. So him and his family don't face a hardship.
I don't
Thank you.
get that.
No,
So-
because
I didn't get that from 10 years ago, you said you didn't want it as residential?
No, 10 years ago.
It
when
was
we
commercial
initially
is what
bought
he's
the
saying.
property,
Commercial,
and
but
yes.
you wanted
When
it
we
as
didn't, we
residential?
actually didn't find out that the property was zoned commercial until we were at closing. Because it was, and that's on the realtor that was selling it, but, and then there was issue, we had to go work with, the city had to give us a letter stating that if the residence, burnt down or something, even though it was zoned commercial, that we could rebuild a residence on it at that time. I don't know if maybe.
So you didn't have a house on it? You're saying you bought the land and built the house?
No, the house was
The
there.
house was there, but it was zoned commercial?
Originally, this is a kind of a convoluted, it's.
Yeah,
a
it
lot of
sounds like
layers.
it.
Back in the 90s, when the property was initially bought by the tow cars, they envisioned putting a tree farm on it, or a little bit of I don't know, greenhouse structure and stuff. So they were looking at it being commercial. Unfortunately, her husband passed away on the day moving into the home. And she just wanted to go ahead and move it back to single family because she wanted to sell off some of it because it was too big of a property.
There we go.
So she petitioned through a letter. She wrote a handwritten letter to city staff at that time, and then it was put through. And the only way we knew it was put through is there wasn't anything in P&Z notes from back then, but we saw where in the city council minutes at a meeting that it was approved to be put to single family. Right. But that change was never actually made. So it was carried on the books for years as being actually a split zoning, part of it being commercial and part of it being light industrial. Then in it was about 2010 or whatever, they did away with the dual zoning on a property. So they just moved it all to C1 or whatever, commercial.
Right.
And then, like I said, when we went ahead and bought the property, that's when we kind of found out some of the stuff that we were inheriting. And we've, been flexible and moved forward. And they just did the major improvement there with the drainage ditch and then also the Borgfeld, expansion and things like that. And we were very, very tolerant of some of the things. Sometimes we couldn't even get out of our driveway during the day because of the rains and the things that were there and stuff like that. So we definitely made sure at that time that Mr. Foose his phone wasn't blowing up from us. We let it all come off our back like water off a duck's back. But it's an interesting story, and this is not the place for me to be going into telling it in a lot of details. But if anybody wants to sit down and have a cold soda, I mean, I can tell you.
Gotcha.
It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
there.
we appreciate that. Okay. I think I have kind of something that I want to, okay, we're good. Okay, thank you, Mr. Cosner.
I have one question, only because I guess I'm still confused. I don't see it quite the way you did. So when you moved in, you wanted it to be residential. That's why you moved it back to residential. Because I think you're saying that he didn't want it that way, and then it was moved that way, and now he's wanting it this way.
Right. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was
So, but you did want it residential. It was C1. You wanted it residential, and it was moved back to residential. Is that correct?
We purchased a property, understanding
You
that it
purchased
was
a property-
residential at the time.
Intending to live there or
Yes,
intending to, okay,
No,
so
we've-
you got residential is what you originally wanted, correct?
Yes,
Okay,
that
all
was
right,
what was
that's,
there. But then also, we looked at that time, we had somebody that clued us in with some things going on in the city about future land use maps, okay? So we
Okay.
saw that, but that was after we're in there.
I got another.
Gotcha.
Got another question.
I'm going to cut you off. I'm sorry, Mr. Thompson. Anybody else down there?
Oh, I have plenty to say.
Oh, let's see
Okay.
if she has.
First, to give you
encompasses
some
what you're thinking.
background and understanding, because Mr. Cosner, I completely understand your frustration. I was picked by Mr. Benson to be in place one because I have studied a piece of property that has been miszoned, actually doesn't have zoning, and might possibly have been spot zoned. So I'm going to do this according to procedure. I had requested a blow-up of the future land use map because I wanted to be able to see what really is zoned or future zone on the future land zone map. What is the intention going forward? And if I understand correctly with this map, you actually abut an industrial complex. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. It is colored pink, so it is available for commercial zoning. So just procedurally, you have to approve this for C1 zoning. Otherwise, He can come back after you because you said so on the flume that you would like that to be commercial property. It's not changing anything. So that's my position. He gets his C1. It is procedural.
Yeah, I appreciate your thought, Ms. Weimer. There's a lot more, but we're going to stick with our point of order, and we're not going to go past stuff. And I don't really like when we correlate other areas because we're not comparing apples to apples. I think we need to stick with what this property is and not what other council people or what other locations, or that's just not the order of business here today. So I do appreciate, and I understand, and
Look
there's
at your
probably
flume.
more.
Look at your flume. It is colored pink, and pink is commercial.
So it is a privilege for us to let the alternates, point of order. It is a privilege for us to let the alternates speak. And if that's going to happen, then we're going to stick with who's at the dais. So you guys don't get to vote down there, but we want to be respectful that you're doing the time. If we're going to come at people aggressive, then we're all as a team going to decide up here tonight, and we're going to vote on what alternates are going to be able to do, and we might have to put policy and procedures into place because we're here to work together. And if we keep hitting on all these things from the past and we're not moving forward, it doesn't help the situation here. So I would like us to work together, and if there's questions that maybe we can meet with Mr. Vasquez or Mr. Spencer at a different time and we can help you understand as a new commissioner, I would love to do that. So let's set a time where we can come together, if that's okay. Thank you.
That is fine.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Hines?
Yeah, just real quickly, I'm looking at your property, and I actually saw the Tokars build their house. It was a really sad story that they didn't get to enjoy the home, only she did. It does have a natural boundary to it. It does naturally separate that property from the residential areas. And all these years driving by that property, I'm like, that's very much appropriate to be zoned for commercial. And C1 is the least intrusive commercial type of zoning, so we appreciate you asking for that. To me, it's a very sensible request. I appreciate it.
And then we will go to you, Mr.
No comments.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. So I feel like we've covered kind of a lot of the map and the future land use and the zoning. And we all seem to understand that when we change from single family to commercial, it opens up other items. My opinion on this one was to figure out if there was a way to add conditions, and I know we don't have legal here, but I guess I'm going to look to city staff, Mr. Vasquez, because it does tend to flow with what is there. You have, I always want to call it legacy, Liberty. You have Liberty Industrial kind of next to it, and you have more commercial kind of C1 surrounding it. But then we do have that residential off Dobie Boulevard. I was trying to pull up on Google Maps right now, like an address behind there. City staff, I don't know, maybe my phone's not fast enough. Like that first,
I have it up.
do you have that? So if they're 248 West Borgfeld, is the development on Dobie, is that going to be like a, anybody have an address for that?
252 right next to it.
252. Am I, or Miss Yvette, can I see your, like this one right here? I'm looking at like this one where it literally butts up against it. It's 100 Dobie Boulevard. So my question that I had wanted to ask tonight on this meeting, because I don't feel like we use, oh, I'm sorry, give me 1 second. This, where's Dobie Boulevard? This, yeah, 100, this one. So that's 100 Dobie Boulevard. Okay, perfect. That's what I was looking for. Yes. Okay, my map wasn't showing the house numbers. It was just showing me the pictures. So 100 Dobie Boulevard, is there a way to, if we choose to, as a commissioner, as commissioners recommend to city council and mayor to move it to C1, to make a buffer zone larger than what the UDC requires? Because I think the we kind of get nervous when we start butting up commercial against single-family residential because it interferes with the single-family residential. They didn't buy there to live next to, I don't know, trash cans, commercial use, car washes, things backing up into them, liquor stores, whatever. So do we have a way to, and this is just talking out loud, and commissioners will all vote and agree and make motions and et cetera, to require like a 50-foot buffer? Or because if the standard is 5 foot or 10 foot, like is there a way to protect, just as an extra precaution, that 100 Dobie Lane home from commercial, I guess?
In your individual case, there is not, but you do have the tool available. You can always recommend an amendment to your UDC. Currently, your UDC anticipates that conflict, and it requires a 20-foot buffer between the residential and the commercial development in a setback. So there's a built-in buffer in your code. Now, can it be greater than 20 feet? Absolutely, but it would require the commission to initiate a code amendment, just like we're going to talk about later, and we would go through the process of amending the UDC and increasing that spacing when you have commercial abutting single-family residential. Looking at the case, you have commercial on the south side of the property, you have it on the north side, you have it on the west side. The site lends itself to commercial zoning, and you're also located fronting on an arterial roadway, which tends to be where you find commercial development. So when we go through the UDC rewrite and the commission has the opportunity to work on a new zoning, a citywide zoning map, the probability is all the properties fronting your commercial corridors will be zoned commercial, and we'll have a lot fewer commercial districts also.
So commissioners, any thought or understanding
Chair,
with, oh, sorry, go ahead.
If I may, on the property itself, along that south side, the easement, that drainage easement is already along the south side that borders 100 Dobie Boulevard, so there would have to be a 20-foot buffer in addition to that drainage.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So we have like 10 feet, 20 feet? Like, I'm just curious, like kind of what you think that is. Is it pretty big?
It's a large, yeah.
Okay, so with the drainage easement, you can't even build within so many
No.
feet anyways, so you have I love that, that's a great point. That's kind of what I was trying to accommodating here, accomplish, gotcha, okay. Okay, commissioners, anything else?
I do have something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a question. So I'm looking at the satellite view. It's just the satellite in this map here, just when you look at the satellite, you get a better vision of kind of where the homes are adjacent to the actual property. And kind of, I mean, if you put a commercial, business in there, I would like to hear, what do the residents think on that, right? That are literally butting up to this. Like, is there any way we can get some type of feedback from who lives there?
Yes, so that's something that's not utilized in this town or anywhere very often. And maybe you as a real estate agent, as you start putting your hands on people, you could start reminding them, please pay attention to your zoning and when you get letters from the city. So they put out 200-foot notices. So that encompassed 50 homes, 10 homes, how many homes? It definitely encompassed 100 Dobie Lane, right?
It was about 11 to 14.
Yeah, so on, can you pull the map back up? So on 100 Dobie Lane, because that's the address stuck in my mind now, they would have gotten a letter, and then across the way, they would have gotten a letter. So can you quickly, so where there's that raw lane and then the first cul-de-sac above that, all those homes would have gotten a letter, right? No, he's saying that, oh, no, I'm sorry, sir, you got to stay down there. I know, I'm sorry. We'll work it out. I promise we're getting there. Thank you. Okay, so to answer your question, yes, and as a commissioner, there's other things you can do because you're here to speak on behalf of the community as well. Is that something then that maybe we'd be interested in increasing that range from 200 feet so you're encompassing more, or is that? I think that's state law. Is that state law?
But it wouldn't help us today.
No, it wouldn't help us today.
Basically, your UDC, we're in the process of updating it. Until we basically update our UDC to reflect the vision of where Cibolo That's what I'm saying, where we are in.
We're going off
where-
the prior.
Right, 2025.
Yeah, so, okay. Okay, so there's some compromise, some things that can happen, and there is notifications that go out, but what we've noticed commonly is nobody really turns them back in or says anything. So, yeah. So there are traffic impact analysis, there's studies, there's all different things that go into play, but as far as rezoning, it's kind of up onto commissioners to really speak with what they think is best, and then to correlate that to our future land use map. Have you seen that yet? Have you gotten a comprehensive master plan or any of that stuff? We got a lot of information to get you. So there'll be a lot more pieces to kind of help you make these decisions as we go along. Okay. Yeah, definitely. So, and thank you everyone for always coming and speaking, because we know it takes a lot to get up here and all the formalities. Do we have a motion then on the floor? I'd like to end discussion and get to our action. Anybody have something they would want to? Well, I mean, it'll either be approved and then we make another motion, or we keep going till we get a motion.
I make a motion. I make a motion to approve the request for change in zoning from low-density, single-family residential SF2 to neighborhood commercial C1 for certain real property located at 248 West Borgfeld Road, legally described as ABS 216 Sewer, AS Lewis 4.0500 acres.
Okay, so Ms. Fishback has a recommendation to approve to council and mayor, et cetera, et cetera. I have a motion. Do I have a second? Mr. Thompson. Okay, and we will start with Ms. Dodd.
Aye.
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 Nay.
Aye.
Okay, did you get your count, Ms. Peggy? Motion does carry, and again, it is a recommendation, so it does go to the mayor and the council for final approval on anything we do tonight.
Appreciate your patience with my ramblings.
We're good. We always love hearing people come in. We want people to always come in. Don't make us just sit here and stare at each other. So thank you for everyone being brave and coming in, and it's your community, and that's why we're all here, right? Okay. Next, we will move to item 9. Where am I at? 9G. Discussion action regarding a request for a change in zoning from low-density, single-family residential SF2 to community retail service C2 for certain real property located south of the intersection of West Borgfeld Road and Dobie Boulevard, legally described as Cibolo Kingdom Hall, Lot 2, acres 5.2050.
Commissioners, I just want to point out, does everybody have the revised staff report for this one? It should be in red letterings. That's the one that we're going to refer to. And I'll talk on the reason why the staff report was revised. So owners are Sam D Management LLC. Representatives are Alex and Tisha Hartman. This is off of Dobie Boulevard, approximately 5.205 acres, located south of the intersection of Borgfeld Road and Dobie Boulevard in Council Place 2. The future land use is estate residential. The existing zoning is low-density, single-family residential, SF2. They're requesting zoning for C2 community retail/service, and the proposed use is the gym and multi-tenant commercial. So within here, as previously stated, with all of the conditions for approval, we have the criteria for approval. I want to point out, since the packet was published, we did make some updates after doing some further research. Looks like the criteria for approval B, the zoning map amendment is consistent with the city's adopted comprehensive master plan. So as stated, the property is designated as a state residential on the city's flume. According to the comprehensive plan, the character and intent of a state residential includes predominantly single-family housing on large lots located throughout the community. land use considerations and example locations were provided. While this designation reflects the city's long-term vision for the area, the flume is designed to offer guidance. And so even though the requested zone change would introduce commercial uses that don't align with the state residential place type, again, the flume and the comprehensive plan are policy tools. And so that leads into the third criteria, which is C, the zoning map amendment promotes the health, safety, and general welfare of the city and the safe and orderly development of the city. Rezoning the subject property from low-density single-family SF2 to commercial retail / service C2 is not consistent with the flume and the future land use map, both of which were adopted to promote the public health, safety, and general welfare of the city and ensure the safe and orderly development. However, the property was identified as an opportunity site on the city's strategic economic development plan. That plan was developed to support the city's long-range economic development priorities while aligning with the initiatives outlined in City Council's strategic plan. I know that this was kind of requested for you all to kind of align with the EDC. I know there was a previous property that this wasn't mentioned, so we wanted to mention this here. So as specified on page 6-21 of the plan, the property is referred to as FM 78 West 6, which is classified as underutilized parcels. And it says that it presents the following redevelopment opportunities. So it says there are several properties currently residential houses that have potential to expand the city's employment base. Located on the western edge of Cibolo along West Borgfeld Road, this collection of properties constitute a sizable redevelopment opportunity to expand the industrial / flex capacity of Cibolo into a manner consistent into the development scale of nearby Schneider Business Park. Alternatively, this opportunity site can accommodate a higher density residential development to expand the diversity of housing within Cibolo. So while the requested rezoning does not align with the city's adopted land use policies in the comp plan or the future land use map, the strategic economic development plan identifies this property as a site for strategic redevelopment, which will support the economic growth and expanded land use opportunities. So we just wanted to point that out there. All the other conditions, or at least the staff findings, are the same. And looking at the affirmative, we also did include the copy of the section within the strategic economic development plan so that you all can see specifically on, I believe, the last page, which is 6-24, you'll see that area that's highlighted in yellow. It shows it as that long-term opportunity site, and that's the area that's referenced also from the page that I had mentioned on 6-21. So if you have any questions, staff is available, and as you know, the applicant is here as well.
Great, thank you. I know that's a lot of information every time. Okay. Commissioners, anything for city staff first? Anything extra with city staff? Okay. Anything for the applicants? I know that they did speak during public hearing. They spoke during the public hearing. But if you have anything else, they are here tonight to answer any questions.
I do have a couple of questions for staff, and then I do have one question for the applicant.
Okay, Ms. Garcia.
Oh, so Peggy's MIA.
Is it something you need the city secretary for?
Yeah.
Okay, can you skip to the next one and then come back?
So if I could go ahead and have you come up for me, please?
It's Mr. and Ms. Hartman, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Mr. and Mrs. Hartman, I
It's
didn't
great.
hear your
Hello?
hours of operation. One of the reasons for my concern is everyone who spoke talked about the traffic impact, the parking, and the location that you're at right now. There is a junior high very close to where you're going to be looking to move into. So what are the hours of operation?
We have camps at 4:30, 5:30, 7:15, 8:30, 9:30 in the morning. And then we have camps at 4:30, 5:30, 6:30 p.m., and we just added a noon camp Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
So then your your business hours of operation would align with the times that the school is letting it in and out of Dobie, correct? Because you said you have
Dobie's-
camps.
What time does Dobie start?
4:30 a.m. you're saying is your first.
Yes.
Correct.
And then your last session was,
I
In the
believe-
morning.
What time does Dobie?
They usually start letting children come up or close to 8 o'clock.
So then we would not have anybody coming or going until 8:10 from leaving from 7:30 camp or
But that's
7:15
when they
camp?
let the children.
Excuse me?
I think the bell rings at 8:30, 8:40.
no, I'm not
We have the
familiar
ability to
with Dobie,
adjust
I'm
the
sorry.
Camp times, so if we notice that there's just too much traffic and it's not.
Because you're talking I'm so sorry, pedestrian
Yes.
foot traffic,
Children.
because we know up and down Borgfeld, there's a lot of
Yes.
foot traffic from
Sure.
school-age children. That's
So the
where,
first bell at Dobie is 8:10.
The first bell at Dobie is 8:10?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then you did have a couple of your members come up and speak about how much they love your organization, and it's good to hear that, because that means that, you know, there's a lot of people that think you're doing a really great job, so I was glad to hear that. But I do wonder I did hear one lady say that she lives in Cibolo. Does everybody who spoke live in Cibolo? Okay. So 2 live in Cibolo and 2 do not? Okay. So, and then I have questions for Peggy.
Okay.
Anybody else
share
has any
one
other
quick
questions
thing
while I'm waiting
regarding
for
the
Peggy?
traffic?
you have a comment regarding traffic?
Yes.
Okay, yes, what was your comment?
So currently, where we're located on 3009, the way that they did the egress to that complex is not suited for the complex. And I personally sat down with TechStop, 6 months ago, asking what could we do to make it safer for our patrons as a business owner, because it is a very difficult space to turn. TechStop said that they really couldn't do anything, that they were shocked that it went through the city the way that it is. But the city of Schertz is looking to close down at 3009 at the railroad tracks and do a flyover. So we understand 3009 and Borgfeld are not the same. So I understand your concern in saying traffic, and it raises eyebrows. But the traffic and the unsafe situation we're receiving, we are challenged with at 3009 would not be the situation that Borgfeld would have.
I was going more by the comments that said there were no parking. So I'm assuming that you have a lot of people coming in and out.
We have
So I
30
wasn't so much, I heard about the traffic, and I am familiar with the Christian Brothers Automotive, and I do know what you're talking about. I know your location. But what I was hearing was that there's no parking, you know, people are coming in and out. So that's my
Yes, ma'am.
comment. If you have a lot of people coming in and out, then there's going to be a lot of people coming in and out of your Cibolo location.
It's not just for ourselves in the complex. Christian Brothers utilizes our parking, and it's not their parking lot, but we have a good relationship with them, and we make it work. Then they also have Premier Martial Arts right next door to us that is also a membership-based business, and then a barber shop and a CBD shop. So there are 5 businesses with 34 parking spots, and that is the reason why you're hearing a lot of parking and traffic, because it's not just our business, it's a culmination of all the businesses. We've asked our engineer before we even placed an offer on the property that we would need 80 parking spots, just because we don't want to have an issue with the parking. Not that we are anticipating 80 people to come, but we have our staff parking in the back on Clichy and walking their babies up so that we can provide parking to our patrons. Parking is very important to us. Egress and degress from the building is very important to us.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want to ask while they're up here?
Oh, hold on, I'm gonna let Ms. Garcia finish because I want to keep one. So Ms. Garcia, I think she had something for you, Ms. Peggy, for staff. And you're welcome to seat and come back. We don't want you to be uncomfortable and stand the whole time if you don't want to. Ms. Peggy, Ms. Garcia has.
Miss Peggy, when you were reading the emails that were coming in favor, there was a second email. Well, first of all, these emails, do we verify that they are citizens of Cibolo? No, so they can
No, we do
be
not.
from Church or San Antonio?
That's correct.
Because as I determined for the people that spoke, 2 are not from Cibolo. The second email stated that there's no
Careful the
impact.
side conversation down there, commissioners.
The
Sorry, go ahead.
second email stated that there is no impact to the community that is living near that location. Do we know if that second email is from a citizen of Cibolo that lives in that subdivision that would know that there would be no impact to the community?
Does citizens to be heard require that you're a citizen of Cibolo? I guess
No,
we've never
they-
had that
no,
come
they
up.
do not.
It's so
And
we can go to
neither-
Shirts,
not-
we can go to New Braunfels, we can go to any and speak on behalf of citizens to be heard.
That's correct.
Without being
And
a
none of
taxpayer.
these
Okay.
actually give their
Okay.
addresses.
Okay, that's something we didn't
No
know.
way to know if the gentleman, believe it was the gentleman that said that there would be no impact to the community, lives in that community?
No, there would be no, by the email that I received, I would not be able to tell you.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like that's context that the city's statutes or whatever have really
No.
set a definition for that requires someone to be able to be heard. You can just be heard.
No, I
Gotcha,
understand,
yeah.
but they're saying there would be no impact to the community. So, but how do they know? Do they live in the community? That's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but we wouldn't need to, it's still all perspective. It's still all, it's not like, and our decisions are made off of, it's helpful to hear, but we can't take really emotion into,
No, I know, but
Yeah.
if they know that, if they're living there and they know that
yeah,
there's not
then you're saying it would be a
Then
little
it
bit
would-
more factual
yeah.
based. I'm sorry, we'll call you up if we need you. I'm sorry. Okay. Is that?
Okay,
are
yeah,
you-
I'm done.
Okay.
Thank
Ms. Fishback.
Yeah, so I have some questions for the Hartmans, if they
Okay.
don't mind, sorry.
Yep, go ahead and call them up when you need them.
Again, I think it's a great business model. Anybody can use it, especially families. I know families have the hardest time to find sitters or reasonable sitting services, and the fact that you offer them for free to them is amazing. I'm going back to the parking again. So you mentioned that because you have limited parking capacity where you're currently at, and I know exactly where you're at, and I know all those businesses. So you mentioned 80 parking spots. Would that be sufficient for the number of patrons that you would have per camp session? Would it also be sufficient when you actually start leasing out the space then to the other similarly type businesses, right? So we wouldn't have people parking in the street. We wouldn't have, right? Because we don't want Dobie Boulevard to be blocked. We wouldn't have people parking at the Kingdom Hall, right? Because I don't know the church, right? They're gated, but anyway, I just want to make sure that, just thinking because a couple of the residents who opposed it didn't put any notations. I know that it's an issue for them, right, thinking they're going to have all this traffic. And I'm just playing devil's advocate and speaking for them. I don't know what they're thinking. They didn't give us anything, so this is what I'm wondering. So just to make sure that there would not be any street parking, because that would start clogging it up and causing a backlog there, right, and people coming in and out. And you mentioned that you would stagger your hours so that they don't conflict with the school there, I guess, at the beginning and then at the end of the day, right? And then how late would you actually be open, right? Again, would you be out there running, and doing exercises in the parking lot at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, right? And just for the comfort of the residents who live in that back area, it's a very established subdivision, for any assurances for them that, in fact, your business would be very quiet, right, for the most part. The traffic would be contained, and, just so that they don't have the worries that they're going to have people parking down their roads, right, into the subdivision. And so 80 would be enough.
Yes, ma'am, it would be
Okay.
more than adequate.
Okay.
And our realtor, Sarah, had
Yeah.
even mentioned
Okay.
on Sunday that there was parking down the road from the Kingdom Hall hours, and we are not open on Sunday.
Right,
And so
okay.
we were going to approach them to pull their cars off the road and actually utilize our parking
Okay.
as a good neighbor to them.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like a great plan.
If I may,
And then I still think, just based on, I've driven the whole neighborhood. I didn't walk the land, but I did drive it. And there is a drainage ditch there that's about 30 feet wide, right? So that is already a buffer between the commercial property in the front and the residential in the back. And I also noticed that there was a lot of natural vegetation, so obviously you might do something nicer, right? To sort of add something to it. And then with the single-family lots up on the side of you, right, it also looked like there was natural vegetation, or they already had some sort of fencing to divide, so nobody would ever, from your groups, right, ever wander into somebody else's property.
No, ma'am.
I'm just trying to cover all bases.
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
And to go along with that, there's the ditch drainage is from point and to tree line is 78 feet.
oh, okay,
There's 2.5 acres of buffer to this property that cannot be utilized.
right.
And there's a private road behind it that provides an additional natural buffer.
Right, that's
Yeah.
Hensley Place or Hensley Drive or something right
Correct. Yes,
behind.
ma'am.
But that's a private drive, so you all would never utilize that,
No,
or
ma'am.
nor your patrons.
No, ma'am.
But, okay, no, you've answered my questions.
And then just to piggyback, Ms. Garcia, the gentleman, Jim, was speaking to the noise, that it would not be any impact to the residents with noise. A lot of times when we get commercial coming in, we think noise, and he was saying that everything's contained inside with just a little bit of running outside, they would not be interference to their homes.
Okay, but you do run outside, correct? You do go outside some of your
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
some of your activities outside?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. I know that we're all learning how to participate in meetings, as you probably don't do it regular like we do, and I know you have some realtors and friends down there. This is still kind of like your practice, so when you go to your meeting before city council and the mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
maybe have a little bit of a game plan where you can incorporate stuff at citizens to be heard and well, I guess you wouldn't have a public hearing, but your citizens to be heard, and maybe even write another letter in, because it sounds like you guys have more stuff to say, but unfortunately, we kind of have to keep our decorum here. So we appreciate everybody coming and trying to speak on behalf. Thank you. Mr. Thompson.
Yes. So y'all still will be continuing to run outside? You don't have like 9,000 feet of square space?
8,000 square feet.
8,000?
So our workout is station-based, and so sometimes it might be running down in front of our building, back and forth.
So, okay, so that leads to my question with the traffic coming back in. Won't you have the same type issue with egress and with your patrons? As far as utilizing the parking lot, and you're gonna have small businesses inside. I believe I've heard you say that you're gonna have other businesses. You're gonna start from 4:30 in the morning and go into about 8, right? Other businesses, you said like, I think physical therapists, wholeness of health.
Right.
So those doctors and those patrons will be coming to be serviced in that facility. They still will be utilizing your parking lot while you're still running back and forth. And it's gonna be
Actually,
even.
that's a great question.
Our vision is to, with all the trees and everything, to make kind of a trail system.
That's what
on the
okay.
property where people can run through, enjoy the.
So you're
the
not,
trees.
see, my thing is it's about public safety, where you're not
Right.
running in the parking lot.
Yes,
Yeah, we
sir.
don't want to
I
have
hear
people
you.
running in the
Okay,
parking lot.
because then it's the same thing. I
Bad
wanna
for your
cover all
knees.
the bases. You know what I'm saying? That
Yes, sir.
we're crossing everything. We know that we're keeping safety at the forefront of all patrons. We know that kids will be coming back and forth to school. Parents will be dropping them off, and it's 25 miles an hour in that little zone. But once you get to your area, you still don't want a safety problem with people running back and forth, working out, tired.
Yes, sir.
Somebody hits someone. So,
Yes, sir. And part of
School
our
zone.
vision is to have a
Orchard.
gathering place where children can play.
but it's 25.
And the residents that we
Oh.
did speak to, when we walked to the neighborhood, were very encouraging of that because there is not a park nearby.
Okay, yeah, we appreciate that. Thank you. Ms. Hubbard?
I sort of have like a whole different perspective than most everybody here, because my neighborhood where I live is set back exactly the way this neighborhood is. And I can tell you, when businesses are doing business and things are happening, it can take me anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes waiting in a line of cars to get out onto 1103. And so when I think, okay, we're going to make the property 243 C1, and then we're going to make UC2 and all those other properties C properties, because it seems like we're just going to go ahead and follow the flume, that will create a problem for those residents that are in the back. I'm not worried about noise, safety. I understand there's a buffer zone. I understand there's a tree line there. I get that. What my concern is the same problem I have when I want to leave my neighborhood and I want to go somewhere. Just up the street to HEB should not take me 30 minutes because 15 to 20 is waiting in line to get out onto 1103. And there's no light there.
Okay, so we're coming back to, I don't want to stray too far because I want to.
Right, yeah.
But, so we're coming back to concerns of parking and
My
traffic
thing is
within.
just the traffic and my concern for that neighborhood and for those residents who want to get in and out on a daily basis, who are there every day, and that's where they live. I understand the businesses that are around there, they're temporary and they come and go, but they have to still deal with all that traffic.
Okay,
So that's my concern, that's my soapbox.
gotcha. Well, okay, parking is,
May I ask how many residents live in your neighborhood?
I don't know because they're still in the process of building and we have 2 ingress and egresses.
Okay, there's 35 homes in this area. If I go and ask each one of them when they will be exiting Dobie Boulevard and I get you a timeline of when we are going to complement, would that?
no, that's not something we can base our decision on. So we do appreciate that each time you guys have really tried to put your best foot forward and you're always trying to appease us up here. Probably just something to notate that in conversation, it's just the concern of the cars coming in and out, and yeah, I think we need to move on from that. So I think we're getting close to where we have a motion on the table. Mr.
Yeah, I had one question.
Gosh, Mr. Sharp, you're new. Give me a minute.
So
Mr. Sharp.
I obviously, with egress and getting onto Borgfield, my son goes to Musul right there, so I understand that traffic pattern, especially with the speed zone going to 20, right? We got a school zone right there. So I guess my concern would be that timeline that you're going at 8:10, I think is you're expecting people, or that 7 to 8 slot, I think is my biggest concern is like, you might get bogged down because you got a 20-mile, going in, and then all the parents going to the school, and then you've got all various traffic going to 399. I would just say, like, if you could, I don't know if it's probably a hard thing to accommodate, but that timeline is just really going to be crammed. I'm telling you, it gets congested in that spot. Not just the neighborhood, but everyone going down Borgfield to 399, it gets crazy around that spot, especially with that school zone. That's just one thing. And then the other thing is, it's a big spot. I go to tune up right there in that little complex. It's a disaster. So I feel bad for you guys. I understand the circumstances. It's terrible, very dangerous as well. So I do understand you guys, this would be opening up a huge, safety net for you guys. Are you guys going to be, how many people are coming to this business currently, and are you going to expand it double next year? Like, what's the growth of the business looking like right now?
When we purchased the business, we were not looking for an additional business, and it was more about saving the community inside our community. It has grown this last year, us taking it over, but we're not looking to grow it additionally. We just want to service our members well, and we want to serve our community well.
And I like that you're projecting the parking. You said 80 parking slots. That's more than enough currently, right?
Oh, yes, sir.
Plenty, like double,
sir.
would we say it's double the parking spots needed, maybe 25%
Oh,
extra?
it's more than enough. We don't have more than 35 to 40 in a
Okay,
camp.
okay.
Gotcha, okay. Okay,
Oh, in that same complex, right?
are you good, Mr. Sharp?
That's it.
Okay,
That's it.
so, thank you. You can have a seat and we'll carp if we need you. So with, again, I'm just gonna kind of go back to one last comment before we make a decision, a motion, is, it's still really hard to change things from single family into commercial. When I did my homework on C2, you know, it jumps to like 40 uses, 38 uses. I had it written down somewhere. So I think when we originally had that preliminary meeting, commissioners that were here, did we not talk about it going to C1 with like a cup? Because I was curious as to, and then I remember us talking about why a fitness studio was C2, because that's in line with a lodge and a club. And so the concerns are when you open something from single family and you jump straight to C2, if the sale falls through, if the business closes in a year, there's still things, once you zone it C2, it is zone C2 unless somebody comes back and wants to zone it, request for something else. So my question for commissioners to think about for just a minute is their plan in particular lines up with, I think, the community, and commissioners are allowed to use that. But if that's not what happens, then we open it up to clubs, lodges, other things. So, Mr. Vasquez, this might be a question for you again. Without completely denying, and again, we are a recommending body, so it still goes to City Council and the mayor. Was that something that was recommended to you by staff to go straight to C2 because it's a fitness center? Because if it doesn't align with the flume and it's kind of their request to not, it's not, do you get where I'm going? I'm sorry, it's getting late.
Yeah. We did meet with the applicant. We recommended that the gym use is permitted by right in the C2, and they didn't have opposition from the neighborhood according to a survey they performed. So we recommended they move forward with the C2 request. Now, an option for the commission is, since we've already advertised and the application was noticed as a C2, you can be more restrictive, you just can't be less restrictive. So you could recommend a C1 cup up to the city council, and they could still act on and approve a C1 cup for the gym facility. But you can also approve a C2, or recommend approval of a C2, and that could go forward to city commission. It's up to the commission.
Okay, so, and that's something I wasn't sure if they had to reapply again. I don't want them to lose, you know, money and time jumping straight to C2, but I personally would like to see it C1 with a cup and just have it a little bit more, I guess, strict, a little bit more boxed in, but commissioners, yeah.
The thing, when you pull up the Google map and you look at the highway, and we're sitting there talking about traffic. Everyone's talking about traffic. We have Walmart. We have all these businesses coming and want to do business. You guys got to keep in mind that the state mandates us to do X, and we have to carry it out. Regardless of our feelings or whatever we feel, up in Austin says business are to come to Texas. We want your business. Bottom line. And so if we have Walmart at the end of the street, that's not a small business. Traffic, it's coming, regardless if kids are going to school, right there, they're using the same highway. So my question is, what are we doing? Are we ready to make a vote? Let's make the vote.
Well, I mean, I would like to, I'm not making a motion, but if I were to make a motion myself, I would like to ask that council and mayor approve it for C1 with a cup. I don't want to see a C2 in there. It does not fall with the flume. It does not even go with the property at 248 West Borgfeld that we were just looking at, kind of kitty corner diagonally. We want to, I will personally say, I would love to see them in there. I think it's a great fit. So that's where I'm at. I think it's a great fit for their establishment. I think it's a good fit for the community and the needs. We do need more health and wellness. We do need more gyms. So I do agree with that 100%. My concern is opening it up to C2, and then we're not guaranteed that's what goes in there because we can't even make that. That can't be technically part of our decision, right? Because it's not like there's no plating, there's no map, it's none of that. So I would like us to think about C1 with a cup, but it's not all up to me.
Well, that was part of what we discussed last time. We
Right.
discussed that, and even you mentioned that, well, then that means they would have to come back and then apply for a cup. So did that really make sense? And so now they were advised to go with a C2 so that they wouldn't have to come back and do a cup. So, you know, we've already gone down this road a little bit. I understand about the flume, but if the recommendation is coming from our planning department for a C2, just so that they don't have to come back again and then apply for a cup.
But then they're recommending denial. So they're telling them, go ahead and do a C2, but it doesn't fit. I thought you guys recommend denial. Well,
As the applicant was that a gym is permitted by right in C2. And it's consistent with the land uses, around the zoning surrounding the site. We were comfortable with their application as a C2 application to allow the gym by right. They did apply for an opinion, which is a very strange procedure. It's not something that any other city does that I've been in, where applicant comes and asks, what do you think? We have a procedure in state law where you apply for a zoning, you come to the planning commission, you get your recommendation, you go to the city council, and you get a legislative decision by the legislative body, which is the city council. So my staff and I talked about eliminating that whole come and ask what your opinion is process in the new code. So we're comfortable with the idea that a C2 is appropriate given the surrounding zoning. And we advise.
well, but your staff findings don't say that. Your staff findings says the zoning amendment will not promote the health, safety, or general welfare, and it conflicts with the character and intent of the place type. Am I looking at a wrong piece of paper?
I don't see that. If you're going to allow a use, which is a gym, and it's permitted by right in the C2, then the commission should be comfortable with all the C2 uses in that location.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm personally not. I'm comfortable with their proposal, but I don't want to see a club or a lodge in there.
Right.
I mean,
And so
and
that's
maybe
why-
club, what is the definition of club? Is it a nightclub with, or is it like a, I don't, there's, I don't want to get too far off. I think we all have enough information. I think sounds like there's a consensus here, so I think we should, I'm sorry, but you will have a time to go at council and mayor.
I don't know if there's a consensus because I know that I don't feel the way that you do. I drove to Derby for 2 straight years, and the children that walk, they're not coming from Walmart. They're coming from the area close to Derby, and they don't pay attention. And the traffic to get in and out of Derby is crazy. And it's so crazy that there's almost always a police officer somewhere in the vicinity of Derby. So I'm concerned about the safety of the children. I would hate for someone to get hurt because of something that we allowed to go in, creating more traffic. So I see it totally different than you do, you know, so.
But I love the way everyone's talking to each other, so thank you
Yeah,
for being so
so
respectful.
like I said, it was horrible to get in and out of Derby, and it took me sometimes 20, 30 minutes just to drop my daughter off. And this was the last year and the year before, so I'm sure it's worse now than it was, you know, because now she's in Steele. But I know for sure what that traffic looks like.
So our options right now are to make a motion and vote. If majority votes in favor of that motion, it passes. If not, we can make another motion, and if that passes, but do remember that, yeah, so I would like to open the floor, and I would thank everybody here for doing such due diligence and for really thinking about your community. I mean, it just shows how much we've all grown, so thank you very much.
I'd like to make a motion to approve based off of staff findings on the C2.
Okay,
Doing you can do a conditional cup or just C2? Just C2?
Yeah, your motion has to be clear on if it's a.
I make a motion to do a C2 based off of the staff finding. what
I
they
second.
advise.
So recommendation, do you get that, Ms. Peggy, from Mr. Thompson, City Council mail to approve the zoning from SF2 to C2
I second.
on whatever the address is there? Okay, so, and we have a motion and a second. We will start with Ms. Dodd.
Aye.
Nay.
I'm going to go nay because I'm hoping I want to get it to C1 cup, but,
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
so we 4-3? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Sharp. And we know you're new, so, I mean,
Pressure on me. I'm going to go nay, just because I want to make sure we get the zoning right. And I don't want to get, like you said, another warehouse or storage unit coming in.
so that motion fails. So we get Ms. Garcia, me, and Ms. Hubbard. So I would like to make a motion and for a recommendation to council and the mayor. Let me go back, hold on. So I get it right. For item 9G, regarding request for a change in zoning from low-density, single-family residential SF2 to community retail service C2 for certain real property south of the intersection. Actually, I think I can just say it as read. I'd like to make a motion for item 9G as read for denial. Well, no, because I want to ask for C1 in a cup.
One with a cup.
So how do I've never had to do that. How do I say that properly?
So we typically use the cups to deal with site design and land use, but in this case, I haven't heard that you're concerned at all about the layout and the design of the site. You're
Well, we are
concerned
because
about-
of parking, and we are because of.
Well, the parking, they have to meet
Yeah,
the
I get
city's
that.
parking standards for whatever use in addition to the gym they decide to develop. So we have parking standards in place to ensure adequate parking for the site. I'm not sure and when you say you're concerned about
But-
parking, you want to require more? You want to,
My thing is that I'm looking at our packet from last month. So we took it from a C1 to a C2, that's what we're doing now, but then we can't make it a C1 with.
You were just
some
saying
sort-
that the
some
best
sort of-
bet would be to take it to.
I just think it's interesting
we
that
advertise
it
for
was
a
just changed from
C2 where-
C1 to C2, and then we can't go ahead and initiate whatever different things that we want to put in there in order to ensure that that is zoned as a C1, so that there aren't 40 different uses for it, which what a C2 brings compared to a C1.
that's correct. So the applicant has applied for a C2 where the gym is a permitted use by right. And,
I'm sorry, 1 second. I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Vasquez.
no, I'll wait. and you
No,
all
go
tell
ahead,
me.
Mr. Vasquez.
So just trying to take you through the process of the decision. The applicant has applied for a C2 where the gym is a permitted use by right. That motion failed, and now you need to take another action, or you can approve, you can modify the application, you can deny. It's up to the commission. You're only making a recommendation, and so you're free to make whatever recommendation up to the city council you want. Now, I haven't heard issues related to the site design. Traffic is an issue, but they'll have to address traffic when they go through the construction process. It could trigger a traffic impact analysis, and the engineer will decide what type of adjustments they must design into their project in order to handle and manage traffic-related issues. But I don't think that's something you will address through your cup. The parking numbers, we have parking required per type of land use. So the gym will have a number of required spaces. They can exceed that, right? They just can't go below that number. And then we don't know what the vacant spaces will require in terms of parking until they have a tenant. And then they'll tell us what that tenant is. We'll look at our parking table and we'll say each tenant needs X number of spaces. They'll have to meet that. And they're gonna have to juggle between the gym parking spaces and each individual's tenant's requirements to meet an overall parking number. So parking's taken care of in your code already. I don't think
Okay.
that is something you need to deal
I
through your
understand.
code. Now, what we can do, if you're concerned about the uses, We can pull up the land use table right now for the C, is it C?
C2 versus
If you're
C1.
not
So
concerned
C1, you
about
have
C-
14 uses, C2,
Okay,
you
let
have
me
like 30.
If you're
It's
not
totally
concerned
different.
about C1 uses and you would like to add in the land use of the gym, then that's what your motion is, a C1 cup with the land use gym added in by right.
Or can we
Yeah,
recommend
yeah,
for them
'cause
to
we don't-
resubmit as a C1?
No, we don't have a site design issue, it's just a use issue that the commission.
Okay, so you're saying we can make a motion, repeat that last line, to approve a land, what was that last sentence? Because I think that's what we're looking for.
Well, you're
The
just going to
C1
approve
land use-
C1 and adding in the gym, because the gym is not permitted by right in C1, right? Is that correct? Is that correct? In C1. So your recommendation is C1 cup for the gym.
For a gym.
Okay.
Question, will they still be allowed to put those other businesses inside?
So you're restricting them to the C1 uses plus the cup.
For that
So
reason.
the only
plus
difference
the-
between C1 and C2, I mean, we have both right in front of us from the previous one and this one. There's just a little bit heavier use in C2, right? It goes up a little bit. So there's still restaurant, there's still neighborhood, there's still admin, there's still all the things that I think go with what the extra little businesses would be in there, the health, the wellness. But it excludes clubs and lodges and a little bit higher, where is it at? It would exclude food truck, veterinary, farmer's market, postal facility, life care services. I mean, C1 and C2 have a lot of the same, obviously.
Yeah.
It still provides artisan sales, administrative business offices, like it's still, I don't think there's anything that they've been talking about. Yeah.
So are we concerned with traffic or with uses?
It's the uses that are concerning me.
It's the
I'm
uses.
concerning with the uses of opening it up to C2. Can I ask, hold on, we can't have 4 conversations. 1 second, sorry. Can I ask them how far along in their real estate deal they are? Is that an appropriate question? Can I find out, like, will they own the land in a week or a month or a year? Is that something I'm allowed to ask?
Well,
No.
I would offer that if you're trying to formulate this cup and you need additional time, then you could ask them if they could work with you on timing and coming either back to your next
There we go.
meeting to resolve the cup issue or not. That's
I
up
just
to
don't
you.
want to make it more difficult for everybody. So that's why I'm trying to get it down to a narrow, concise. I'm sorry, sir, you're not the applicant, and really it's only. What, Miss Peggy? No. I'm at a loss right now.
If we're a recommending, just a recommending body, the same way the lawyer is a recommending person, let's just make a recommendation, however we word it, the best we can, if we want to just take a minute and write it down, and then push that forward. And again, we can work with them on time, depending on where they're at, and then that will also go forward to city council so that they have a more clear picture on what happened here if they didn't get a chance to watch the meeting. And that will be pushed forward
Can we go with the wording that he had recommended? Which I don't remember what it was.
I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
I would like to make a motion to recommend to the mayor and city council for item
Well, it's
9G as written, so I don't have to say all of it, that,
So it's just a C1 cup with the added land use of gym.
yes,
Yes.
that's my motion.
What's that?
To a C1 cup.
I think
That's what I,
Studio.
Miss Peggy, do you have that? Does that make sense? Did I do it right?
What's that?
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
fitness studio and gym.
yeah, fitness, yeah, I know what you meant, fitness studio and gym. And then, council and the mayor will see our recommendation, and then at that point, their application is still requesting for C2, so then they will get to choose if it's a C1 or C2, right?
That's correct.
Okay, that's what I was looking for this whole time. All right, learning experience. Okay, that was my motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, I have a motion and a second. I'm sorry, starting from this end, Ms. Dodd.
We didn't revote.
The motion failed, so if you have a tie, it's failed, which we wouldn't have a tie, but I guess it's failed, so.
We had to reword, the motion, how we want to push it forward to city council.
The motion is now for a C1
Cup with
facilities and
of a gym.
The
or
land
studio.
use table. I don't know.
No.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Ms. Dodd?
Aye. Nay.
Aye.
Nay.
That was loud.
Aye.
Aye.
So what is that? That's 4-3? Okay, so motion carries. Okay, so when you go to council and the mayor, I don't think anyone here doesn't want to not see that, but we can't base our decision based on that specific gym coming in. And unfortunately, we don't want to open up C2 and change it from SF1. So I think you're going to have a great time at council. I promise it'll be easier than this. And we thank you for coming, and we understand, and we hope you understand too. And I know it's exhausting tonight, so thank you so much. Okay. We are on to my agenda. We are on to item 9H, discussion action regarding a Unified Development Code UDC amendment to Article 20 to update the performance, maintenance, and warranty bond requirements.
So what you have before you tonight is a proposed amendment to the Unified Development Code. If the commission would like to take the information tonight, I can introduce it. If you want to postpone to your next meeting, that would be fine. This is staff initiated. There's no urgency. There's no one asking for the amendment. We're just trying to improve our development processes for our staff, for the engineering department, the public works department, and our developer customers. This process involves accepting the public improvements when a developer develops a site, both commercial and residential, but our focus is primarily, most of our development is single-family residential. So it's when the developer is preparing to turn over the drainage system that you don't see underground, all the pipes and the culverts and the inlets and then the water and the sewer line, and as well as the sidewalks, curbs, and streets, over to the public for permanent maintenance out into the future. And there are processes in place. The city council adopts through the UDC engineering standards and specifications for all those infrastructure improvements. The developer must follow those standards and specification when he builds that infrastructure. The city engineer is responsible for making sure that he complies with those engineering standards during that process. So during the construction phase, there's a tool called the performance bond, where the developer puts up 125% of the cost of that construction. So let's say it's a $10 million infrastructure project. He's putting up $12.5 million in a bond that we hold until he finishes construction. And at the point he finishes construction, he's eligible to receive that bond back and retire that bond. Then you move into the next phase, which is the acceptance and the warranty of that infrastructure. And you want to have a period for the infrastructure to perform, and you're observing that it's not falling apart, that there's not potholes being developed. And so one, you need a period of time, and then you also need a financial guarantee, an instrument. So it drops from 125% during construction to some percentage during the warranty and maintenance period. Well, again, Cibolo does it a little differently. Most places have one more bond. They have a maintenance bond, and that's usually a period of anywhere between 12 to 24 months, where we ask the developer for a bond, typically in the 20 to 25% range, and we hold that bond for that period of time. And if the infrastructure starts to fail, the city has the option of drawing the money down from the bond and making repairs, or calling the developer up and saying, hey, you need to make this repair because we're not going to accept this stuff if we see it falling apart. And so cities do it, typically there's two bonds. There's a construction bond and then the maintenance and warranty bond. In Cibolo, you have a construction bond, you have a maintenance bond, and you have a warranty bond. So you have the developer going to the surety 3 times as opposed to 2 times like everywhere else. And so we're trying to see, and then my staff has to track all 3 of those bonds and make sure they don't expire, and then follow up with the surety to, so it's a lot of tracking of paperwork that's unnecessary. If we scale it back to 2 bonds, it saves time for my staff to be able to focus on the important things that matter and not just monitoring records and paperwork. So in this process, I have some background information. We have the current, because I think you sent out the draft, right? They have the fresh draft. I apologize for the original draft. There were a lot of errors and a lot of typos. We're trying to perfect it. Again, this is a working process, so it's perfectly fine. If you're not ready to take action tonight, we can postpone to your next meeting and give you time to familiarize yourself with the information. Could you pass out the current code? Okay, that's the draft for the amendment. And let me explain the draft. There's words that are stricken, that's taking out current language, and then there's words that are underlined, that's adding new language in the draft. But for your review until the next meeting, I did go ahead and if you could make copies of the current, so you have a hard copy of the current public improvements acceptance process, the code, and then there's also the tools that we use to implement it in the back that you can look at. We have a maintenance bond sample, we have a warranty bond sample, and then we have an affidavit. The affidavit is another anomaly. Cibolo requires a developer to draw up an affidavit of acceptance of the infrastructure. Yeah, if you could pass those out. In most cities, the city engineer is the one who's empowered to accept the infrastructure because he's an engineer and he knows how to read the standards and specs and he knows how to look at the infrastructure. So he makes a decision that it's time for the city to assume permanent maintenance responsibility for that infrastructure. Here we have an affidavit that has to go to the Planning and Zoning Commission. No, just straight to City Council. That the City Council makes the decision when that infrastructure is ready to come into the city's inventory for permanent maintenance and operations. So that's something we'll talk about as we go through the change, and certainly something we'll talk about as we go through the UDC rewrite, whether that's something the commission will recommend that we keep or not. I do have another cities, because I was asked if there's some samples, and I have another city that it has gone through the UDC rewrite within the last 24 months, and you can track how theirs is streamlined. They still have the warranty and security that's required in order to ensure you get quality infrastructure before the city accepts it into their inventory for maintenance. But you can also take that and look through it as we go along. So I can walk you through the draft tonight and we can go section by section, or you can take the information home as homework and we can come back at your next meeting and work through the amendment. And between then and now, you can email in comments to the chair and then she can provide those to me and we could incorporate any changes you might have in the draft and bring you back a new draft at your next meeting. It's up to the commission.
Yeah, I was going to ask if we could postpone because, I mean, there's more information and I just think I'd like some extra time. And if it's not urgent, because that was one of my questions, is there a reason why we're doing this right now? Was there something we're holding up? Because we never want to do that. But if we could postpone this until next meeting, I think that's my preference, commissioners? Okay, so it sounds like the consensus is to postpone and then we can come back next month and have
Are we emailing any questions or any?
You can email in questions as well, and we can have them, a response to them at your next
Okay.
meeting, ready to go.
All
And I would, thank you for postponing it, Peggy will tell you that postponement means we're still in the official process of the amendment under the local government code, so we don't have to go out and put it back in the newspaper again, or we don't have to have another public hearing. You've done your public hearing, and so now you just have to take action on the ordinance once you get to that point, and you finalize your recommendation.
Yes, perfect. Okay, that's what we're going to do. So that is technically action discussion, so I need to officially make a motion to postpone?
Motion to postpone.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to postpone item 9H, to postpone item 9H as written until next meeting. Can I get a second?
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Ms. Dodd?
Aye.
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 Okay,
Aye.
motion carries. Moving on, don't lose your papers. I mean, I'm sure you can ask for another one, but hold on to them for a month. Next item is 9I. Discussion action regarding the appointment of one P&Z member to serve on the Capital Improvements Advisory Committee, which we are calling the Kayak, and that is for a 3-year term. I will let Mr. Spencer say something, and then I do have something to say right after. So go ahead.
Yeah, so I know, just for the sake of time, that
time is supposed
this
to be
was
done?
included within your packets. Everything stands as is. As we had presented at the last P&Z meeting, there is a request from council that one P&Z member be appointed to the Kayak Committee. I hope that you all had the time to read this staff report, because it kind of dives into what the Kayak Committee entails. And so with that, I'll pass it back to you, Ms. Grieve.
So I asked for the members that are currently on the Kayak, and it is, because it's required, one member from the ETJ, one member from the EDC, one member from P&Z, and 4 members having special knowledge skill. Actually, it's not required, because it's not a law. It's something that council and the mayor requested, that someone from these committees. But I do notice that Mr. Hines, again, that gray area, because he's technically an alternate, but he's been on P&Z and he's well seasoned. He's been with us a few years. So I kind of personally felt like he already fits the bill of the one member from Planning and Zoning. I know that a few of us here are already on other committees and other boards and other commissions, and it is a 3-year commitment. So I wanted to ask the group how we felt about going back to council and the mayor and kind of saying, well, you already appointed someone that has seasoned information with P&Z that we meet with regularly. Does anybody here want to actually do it? Because the last meeting, it kind of sounded like we were a little nervous about committing to another committee. Does anybody here right now at the dais want to raise their hand for the Kayak? Is there yes or no?
Do we know if that's another obligation for him and if he's willing to take that on?
Mr. Hines was already appointed at last Tuesday's or last month or whenever that was. So he is officially a Kayak member.
May I ask a couple of questions of Aaron real quick?
Mr. Hines, may I ask a couple questions about Kayak?
Just if I could ask a couple of questions.
Oh, to Mr. Spencer about
Mr. Spencer,
Kayak?
just,
Yeah.
about the Kayak process. And so quickly down the list, what are the things that the Kayak Commission discusses?
Yeah, so kind of like what we had talked about at the last P&Z meeting. So you all are looking at the wastewater, drainage, as well as other impact fees within the city. So that will affect development as it comes downstream. And so there's different areas. What you'll talk about are the different areas within the city that have different needs specific to the roadways, and because that's another impact fee, as well as the drainage, as well as what's currently out there today. And so that will affect what the development in the future has to pay for.
Okay. Thank you, Mr.
Okay,
Oh, so good.
I think this is probably something I need to not participate in. There's going to be some other areas in the future. We'll have some discussion about some personal issues I've already made reports for, those sorts of things. But I really think that because of the nature of specifically dealing with and setting fees and development fees, those types of things is probably something I'm going to find myself recusing myself from a lot of those discussions.
Oh, so even though you've been appointed already, you're kind of feeling like the description is now going to,
I think the duties that are required of that are going to be something yeah, I just need to remove myself from those discussions.
okay, okay, so
We would need someone from P and Z.
at the request.
Yes, yes. So originally, my request was to serve as a member of the Charter Review Committee, and then the council had said they felt like there were enough people from my district already there, and it's just made an appointment to kayak.
Okay, so the last question that I just have for Mr. Spencer is, has there been, planning and zoning is the second Wednesday every month at 6:30. Planning and zoning is the second Wednesday every month at 6:30. Has there been given any direction on what the kayak, is it the fourth Thursday of every month at 6:30? Like, do we know what someone's committing to for 3 years? Because what if it's a day that somebody's already obligated and we won't know?
Yeah, no, that has not been set, and I'm looking at Peggy, and she's confirming that. So typically with these committees, they'll set a date that's best for everybody to kind of get a sense of what works best for everybody's schedule. So knowing that these meetings are likely not going to be as scheduled as like P and Z and other boards that are in
Okay,
place.
so it's going to be a,
It would be almost kind of like as needed basis.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to go down the line to save some time, and you can say if you think you can fit the kayak in, and there's no, if it's, you can't, you can't. If you want to, you want to. Ms. Dodd?
Negative.
Ms. Garcia?
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to be no, because I'm already committed to a lot of things.
No.
No? Yeah, well, she said she would be willing.
I would be open for it.
Well, I had wanted to make sure that, do we have anybody? Mr. Thompson, yes or no? What, would you, do you want to serve on the kayak?
But I'm not
It's a-
saying yes, but if somebody else wanted it, I would be open for it unless somebody else wants it.
Yes? We've got 6 minutes.
They got it. I'm good.
So that's a no or yes? Okay, and no?
No.
Okay, so then let's, and that helped us out. Let's go ahead and make a motion. I make a motion to appoint Ms. Garcia. Do I say appoint? I make a motion to, I guess the council appoints.
For appointment.
Yeah, there you go. To recommend to mayor and city council for appointment Ms. Garcia to serve on the kayak committee.
And you'll have to fill out an application.
Okay.
Okay.
And they're going to be appointing on the 8th of April. I think
So I guess I gotta write that down. 8th of April.
at 5:30 in the evening.
8th of April, 5:30. It's usually before the council. Needs your application before then. Okay, I have a motion on the floor. Can I get a second?
Second.
I have a second from Ms. Dodd. All in, Ms. Fishback? Jeez. Every time it gets to this time, I start to do that. Okay, are you okay going first, Mr. Sharp? You got the hang of it?
You got it.
Okay, all in favor? We have a motion.
Aye.
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 Perfect, we have that. Okay? Next item is 9J, discussion action regarding the appointment of 2 P and Z members to serve on the Unified Development Code Advisory Committee, UDCAC.
So, kind of like with the kayak, this is requested by council in terms of having at least 2 members from P and Z to be on this committee. So there's no urgency with this committee.
I was just going to ask you, though, because I know we're running short on time, and they don't meet until the even months. Can I postpone this item as well till next month?
Sure.
And that'll give us some time to do that? Okay. So I'd like to make a motion to postpone item 9J as written till next meeting.
I second.
You wanted to be on that committee?
Did you want?
Well, go ahead. If you want.
No, I can recall my motion.
If you want to be on that
I'm
committee,
just,
let's go ahead. and-
we got 4 minutes to make a vote. So I guess let's see if Mr. Spencer has, go ahead and just give us the gist because, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, basically.
I recalled my
This
motion.
is council's
Recounted?
wanting to have at least 2 members. So basically kind of like what Mr. Vasquez was trying to go through with the UDC. It's a lot of that in terms of facilitating what the current UDC says, where do we want to get it at in the future. Obviously, you all as P&Z, y'all see a lot of the issues at firsthand before they even go to council. So you all are subject matter experts. You might not think it, but you are. You see a lot more than the common folk. So I think at least having two of you all would work in the favor of the committee. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, is there anyone here, Mr. Thompson has said he would do the UDCAC. Is there anyone else here that is willing to?
How long
I'm
is that
overcommitted.
commitment?
So it would span the length of the project. The project is an 18-month project. So where we're at right now, I think we're already on month 2. So 16 at this point.
Mr. Sharp?
Correct. Yeah, we'll likely, everybody that's interested and has been appointed to the UDCAC, they will convene, and then we'll try to get a best date and time for everybody.
I don't know what your other commitments are, but you are seasoned in contract because of real estate, so I don't know, the UDC is going to be contract and words, and it might be up your alley if you have time. For right now? Okay. Okay, then that gives us our 2. So I'd like to make a motion recommendation to appoint Mr. Ryan Thompson and Mr. Anthony Sharp for the item 9J as written. Can I get a second?
I second.
A motion and a second. And we'll start with Mr. Sharp. All in favor, or I mean,
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay. Yep. Can he just use the one he had and check another box? Okay. Okay, so we are at 9:28, and we have items 10, 11, and 12. What is our? Is that something we? So do we postpone, or do we, if we table it, it's indefinite. If we postpone, we carry it on at next meeting.
Or it depends on what you
I'm not coming back tomorrow.
I mean, some of those items are in your packet, all he's gonna do is read it off from what you have in your packet.
Okay, and we got introduced the new person. So can we just say we're doing item 10A right now, or, and we're just saying we've already gone through our packets and we've read it?
Just say that's in the packet.
It's in the packet, okay?
The subcommittee, you can, take that.
Yeah, then that's, I know we had stuff to discuss on that, but that's fine. So item 11, we will postpone till next meeting. And then I guess item 12 for future agendas. I still have 1 minute. I guess, I don't know. Do we have any items for future agenda? Anybody?
Can I add one? A discussion with staff about the standards for when an application for a plat is, or development is actually accepted. If we can just get a greater understanding. I have an idea that I'd just like to talk out.
Standards for plats?
For when an application for a plat or development is accepted, when do we truly start the shot clock? Because it's the crux of the discussion. So.
Okay. Ms. Peggy, do you have that? That's fine. Okay, I'd like to, it's 9:30 on the dot. I will make a motion to adjourn our meeting at 9:30.
I second.
Ms. Fishback seconds. I got it right. I have a motion and a second, starting on this end.
Aye.
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 I have it.
Thank you.
Standards for applications.
Yeah, standards. What are our
Standards
discussion
for
over?
when an application for a
Is my microphone still working? Because I have something really quick, commissioners that are new. The policy directive, right, that we all signed for, we all got a copy and you're waiting to get yours. I'd like to remind us all that under rule number 4 for control of discussion applies to all of us here. The